Once again, I want to welcome everyone who's in attendance and thank you for being here. Not only do we have the school committee meeting to go through, and we will recess that at 8 p.m. and we'll go into the budget hearing after a 5-minute recess. But I want to thank everyone for being here. It's a very important issue, and thank you for your concern. With that said, if we can please rise and we'll salute our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mr. Leary. Ms. Martin. Mayor Caulfield.
Here.
Mr. Conway.
Here.
Ms. Doherty.
Here.
Ms. Fattacante.
Here.
Mr. Leahy.
Here.
7 present.
With that said, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the last school committee meeting and also the minutes of the last budget hearing. Move for approval by Mr. Leary, seconded by Ms. Martin. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those minutes have been accepted. Permission to enter, Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. North Reading Taxi, Inc. for the amount of $494,920, funding provided by various grants. Professional Center for Handicapped Children, Inc., $6,701, funding provided by the School Department FY09 budget, special education tuition account. Greater Lawrence Educational Collaborative GLEX, $7,500, funding provided by special education FY09 transportation budget. Mark Romaski for $10,000, funding provided by School Department FY10 budget athletic contracted services. Middlesex Community College, $55,000, funded provided by the School Department FY10 budget special programs, $35,000, and the Office of the Attorney General of Massachusetts, $20,000. Middlesex Community College, $798,203 to continue the bridge program, funding provided by the School Department FY10 budget. Middlesex Community College, $20,000 to pay tuition. Funding provided by the School Department FY10 budget. SP&R Transportation of New Hampshire, $6,624,996, funding provided by School Department FY10 budget, special education transportation, Teach for Teachers to provide on-site professional development and literacy instruction for the coaches and teachers at the Maury and the Merkland, funding provided by School Improvement Grant from the Department of Education. The Partisan Guild for Human Services, $280,258 to provide a district tuition funding, provide School Department FY10 budget. University of Massachusetts Lowell, $70,000 to pay tuition for qualified students from Lowell High School who will earn both high school and college credits by taking courses at UMass Lowell in the dual enrollment program, funding provided by the School Department FY10 budget. Vermont Center for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, $11,846, funding provided by the School Department FY10 budget, special education tuition account.
Ms. Martin?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. If I could ask a question, I know at least one of these items is basically stimulus funding that we're going to be spending. Could you give me a sense, Madam Superintendent, do any others fall into that category, or just the Teachers for Teachers?
Actually, that's not stimulus money. That's the grant from the Department of Elementary Secondary Education for school improvement, which is a separate grant targeted for our schools who are on Commonwealth priority, Commonwealth priority schools. So it's a different funding source.
I know we've discussed this
Yes.
a number of times, and I apologize for
No, it's okay.
continuing to return to it. And perhaps it's just a function of having lived now through this budget process, that I do still have concerns around this. Having heard very clearly from these school communities how much they value this, and I absolutely heard that. But I still believe we need to take a look at this in terms of the overall amount of money being spent on, a limited number of hours of service, And I, for one, would not be comfortable supporting it at this point. And I guess in that vein, Mr. Mayor, I would ask if we could take that one separately, that one item, Teachers for Teachers. I would be very comfortable if we wanted to just hold it off and come back to discuss it again. And I would leave that to the superintendent.
That's a $100,000 appropriation.
Exactly.
Ms. Martin moved that we take that separately.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Fattacanti. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? We will take the permission to enter in its entirety with the exception of Teachers for Teachers. Okay. Any other discussion or questions? Roll call on everything except Teachers for Teachers.
Do I have a roll call to approve those 11 other contracts?
Moved
Second.
by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Fattacanti.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante?
Yes.
Mr. Leahy?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
If I may, if you have a cell phone, could you please shut the cell phones off, because the TV monitor will be... Okay, but anyone else in the audience, please shut your cell phones off. Ms. Martin, you want to discuss that issue now, or?
I would only ask if the superintendent would be comfortable holding off, or if she'd like to put it up to a vote. I'm comfortable with her, how she'd like to
Madam
proceed.
Superintendent, can you explain the financial matters pertaining to this?
Sure. This is a grant that we received from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education used on school improvement initiatives in our schools that have been labeled or designated as Commonwealth Priority Schools. This particular budget process, they grant us the money. The budget process has to be approved by the Department of Elementary Secondary Ed, and they approve it, and then because the monies is appropriate through this body, they, you guys ultimately vote yea or nay. So in fact, the guidelines associated with this particular grant says the money is to be spent in this particular manner. To the extent that the school committee chooses not to, I'm not exactly sure how to handle it. So I guess maybe the people in charge of the grant could perhaps come to a subcommittee meeting. Maybe we could just have them come and explain how it works, so that, you know, they could maybe, because I know we've had a full meeting on it. We've explained that, in fact, they're the ones who approve the expenditure of the budget on the recommendation of the superintendent and of staff. So this hasn't really, I don't think, happened before, that, you know, a recommendation for school improvement of something of this nature. So I don't know how the department wants to handle it, but I'll turn it over to them, and they can perhaps come in and discuss it. Okay.
Ms. Doherty?
Thank you, Your Honor. I think in fairness to all parties involved, this subcommittee meeting where we met with the principals and staff who've been involved with this particular professional development effort hasn't been reported on yet. That was a meeting that happened on May 21st. And although I concur with my colleague that it's an expensive program, $100,000, which, as the superintendent mentioned, is grant money that comes out of the state because of these priority Commonwealth schools. I was very impressed by what our teachers and principals had to say about the program. We had the Merkland School, the Morey School principals were both there, as well as members of their staff who spoke quite eloquently about the progress, how excited they were with the children's growth in their reading and their understanding of reading from the beginning of the year to this point. But where the rest of my colleagues have really not had the opportunity to delve in greater detail. I mean, I don't know if you've read the report, it's pretty thick, but we've been very much caught up in the budget. So I would agree with although I am, and if we voted tonight, I would vote in support of it because I was so taken by the response of our teachers and our principals who were at the meeting and the results they saw, significant improvement in these children. I would also think that it might make sense to delay the vote until we have some time to really give it attention. That's just, would be my thoughts. Thank
Madam
you.
Superintendent?
If it would be all right, I would, out of respect for Ms. Martin's issue and concern, I would like it, if you wouldn't mind, to delay it, just so that we can have the department come and better explain, the guidelines, the parameters of what they expect of us to address with this money, how it's supposed to be spent, because we've explained it, and now I just want to make sure that the Department Ed weighs in so that everybody understands where we're coming from.
Ms. Martin?
Thank you very much, and I think that would be extremely helpful. I think that we need to, we've been through this whole process, our whole budget process, which certainly has taken over our entire lives right now. I think that we haven't had the time for this, and I think that one of the lessons we've learned through this process is our need to be flexible and try to be creative. If I had a better sense, I think, from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, what the limits were on this funding, perhaps I have the mistaken impression that we have more flexibility than in fact we do. But to get that information directly from that department, I think would be extremely helpful, and then we could make a better informed decision where it's not critical to any of our conversations this evening. I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Madam Superintendent?
Just one other point of clarification. We have flexibilities within this particular grant as discussed the night of the meeting, but the key to it is to spend the money in a way that we think is going to improve student achievement. So we can have that discussion further with them, because there is flexibility. You can spend it this way, you can spend it 10 other different ways as well, as we discussed at the meeting. So there's not, I don't want people to think there's just one way to spend it, because there are many, as discussed at the meeting.
So we're going to delay this. And with that said, Madam Superintendent, $100,000 is still a large sum of money.
That's correct.
Why couldn't some of this money be spent at other schools instead of just Memory and Merkland? Is it that expensive to?
Last year, we received $400,000 of school improvement monies from the department, and again, it's to be used in our Commonwealth priority schools. The Merkle and the Maury schools are two underperforming schools who have been the underperforming schools the longest and who have shown great promise, and the money, as outlined, that was spent, and we're proposing again to spend it this year in this way, met with the approval, and we do think that we will be able to improve reading literacy instruction, and the report back from staff this year indicates that that assumption was correct, and we'd like to see the program proceed. But again, we can take it up at another time.
The reason I brought that forward is I just wondering if you spent $33,000 at 3 schools, and maybe another school could benefit from that. But that's your decision, Madam Superintendent. Okay, we have taken a roll call vote on the permission to enter. This is going to be delayed, this segment. The next thing on the agenda is memorials by Regina M. Faticante. Moment of silence in darkened chambers for Pamela A. Monette, mother of Denise Lafferty, early childhood parent liaison. If we can all rise for the moment of silence for this outstanding woman. Thank you. May she rest in peace. There's no unfinished business, I believe. Public participation, we will have that certainly at the budget hearing. Motions. Motions by David Conway to ask the superintendent to review all school department contracts, school employees, consultants, and vendors in order to determine which one includes the language of funding subject to appropriations or any other similar language. Seconded by?
I'll second that, Your Honor.
By Ms.
Thank you.
Faticante. On the motion, Mr. Conway.
Just very briefly, Mr. Mayor, I think that obviously we're going through some difficult economic times, as we all know, and we're also entering negotiations, and I think it would be a good idea to see exactly in these in the language, whether it is something that says funding subject to appropriations, because, again, I think we have to take a look at the funding quite often, as we have seen the last few weeks, the last few months, changes almost on a day-to-day basis. So I just want to make sure that we don't back ourselves into a corner. Thank you.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. The second motion by John Leahy, request that the superintendent speak with the appropriate department at Lowell High School so that the auditorium is ready for all scheduled events, seconded by Ms. Martin.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is just a housekeeping motion, if you will. Basically, what I would like to see is we need to have some sort of list of events that we run at the auditorium over at the high school, and it needs to be presented to the proper department, and just to make sure that the grounds and the inside is cleaned up for the event. So just something that over the years that I've tried to stress that we have this prepared, and sometimes it falls on deaf ears. So after showing up at the adult ed graduation last week, I didn't find the outside, it wasn't prepared well for that event. So it came to this, you know, we need to put a motion on and make sure the place is prepared.
John, may I
So-
ask, is that the responsibility of the custodians at Lowell High School?
Well, I don't
Or
want
the
to,
city?
I'm
Both?
sure that if they're directed to do something, it would have been done. But, you know, when the grass is overgrown and there's garbage floating around, it's not acceptable, so.
So, Madam Superintendent, who's responsible for that, do you know? Anybody can answer that question?
Well, I'll take it up with Mr. Samaras tomorrow and follow up with him. So the responsibilities, it can begin with him, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, that's fine. I brought it up a number of times, and now it's got to be handled this way, so.
I noticed
you.
the grass at the Rogers School, even though we're moving out of there, is about that high, so that should be addressed too. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? If the committee allows, I will read my motion from the podium. I'm not going to debate it, discuss it. The motion speaks for itself. Motion by Mayor Edward Caulfield, request a report from the Superintendent, Chris Augustus Scott, on the fiscal impact to the Lowell School Department on the vote that was taken December 19th, 2007, on salary adjustments for non-affiliate employees. The motion speaks for itself. Do you second that motion, Mr.
Second.
Conway? Second by Mr. Conway. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Subcommittee reports. We have 9 subcommittee reports. Yes, I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask for a point of personal privilege for a motion regarding cost savings
Certainly,
at this point?
certainly. Why don't we ask for suspension of the
Suspension of the rules for Mr.
rules
Conway
by
to bring
Ms.
in a point of
Fattacani,
personal
seconded by
privilege.
Ms. Martin. All in favor of the suspension of the rules, signify by saying aye.
Could Mr. Conway state his reason for personal privilege, Your Honor?
Regarding cost savings, and I thought it'd be appropriate at this particular time, just prior to
It
the
certainly is.
to the budgets, to ask the superintendent to look at consolidating the alternative schools and the feasibility of housing the program at the Rogers School or another appropriate site. And just very briefly on this, I think it would be a good idea. We have obviously asked different groups of people, unions, to come up with some ideas on how to save some money. And I was thinking that this might be a possibility that we could perhaps consolidate, at least to get some ideas on the table. Maybe the superintendent could take a good look at this. And again, if it can save us some money, I think it might be certainly worthwhile, especially in the fact that going into next year and the year after, needless to say, we're going to be running into we're going to continue to run into financial problems. And to be honest with you, if this is a way to save some money and not cut positions, I think it might be something to take a good look at.
Ms.
Thank you.
Fattacani?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll second Mr. Conway's motion, and through you, Your Honor, to Mr. Conway. Could you be a little more definitive on what you're looking for, sir? Because when you say alternative programs, discipline-based alternative programs, is that what we're looking at?
Alternative schools, Ms. Fatacanti, for example, the Malloy, LeBlanc, Laurel Lee, Cardinal O'Connell, Riverside, and to take a look and see if they could be housed, combinations perhaps, maybe 2 or 3 of them, maybe at one building. Again, this is something that perhaps we can look into.
Now, I know we're going to move adult education
Right.
into the Rogers School, and also downtown central office. And there's 95,000 square feet in that building. So the motion is excellent, and if there's any additional space there that we could utilize and close the building, that's money is saved. So, Ms. Fattacani?
Thank you, Your Honor. Last week, we actually discussed the issue that when the city bonded to repair or renovate the school,
Yes.
we were required to maintain students in the building. We still haven't received a final answer from Department of Education yet about whether or not that would continue to have to happen. But if we were to seriously look at Mr. Conway's motion, and we did move some alternative school students into that building, that would suffice their need to have that building continue to be used to house students in an educational program. So it actually might be 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah.
A, we continue to house students in the building and educate them, and 2, we could possibly give up another building and eliminate gas, light,
Yeah.
heats, water, and our other bills associated with housing, with maintaining another separate and distinct facility.
From what I understand, even if we didn't move those alternative students to that school, we would still be protected, wouldn't we, Madam Superintendent? We would still make the requirements from the state about having students in the Rogers School?
Right now, when we move the Family Literacy Center, there will be
Right.
children
So
there.
that would cover us, right?
Well, we're not sure to the extent that it
Okay.
will or not, but we do have a year to come
Okay.
up with a plan, to Mr. Conway's point, so we can look into this, and we will work with the SBA to determine if, in fact, that is enough. But I think, to Mr. Conway's point, even if it were, we will still be responsible to use every inch of the
Right,
Rogers School for
definitely.
instruction, and we have many needs. If it's not this, we have a few other suggestions as well.
Mr. Conway?
Just to add one other thing, too, and I think what's important is when we're talking about central administration moving down there, we're talking about, on the 3rd floor, obviously, tremendous resources that would be heading over to the Rogers School, so I think that it would certainly be a very, very helpful, I think, to that setting. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Subcommittee reports. Curriculum Subcommittee, report and approval of the minutes of May 11, 2009. Connie Martin, Chairman.
Thank you very much. This will be a very quick report. Reporting out on the meeting of May 21st, our first topic, and we've already hinted at this a little bit, was the literacy pilot at the Merkland and the Morey schools. This did relate to the prior contract that we were just discussing for consulting fees, so I will leave that for now, and as we get more information, I'll report more on that in the future. We did get an update on the ongoing progress with the sex and reproduction standards review that's going on at both the middle and the high school levels. A committee has been brought together. They have been working to bring together the different curriculum standards that need to be addressed. I think one of the key things is that being cognizant of what our current budget situation is like, the recommendations that they had made, we recognize that they need to be revisited. I think the key thing that we're going to be waiting for at this point, as was referenced by my colleague Ms. Doherty in the meeting, was each school is going to be reporting back to the committee, the subcommittee, on how they think they can best implement these standards. There's been a great deal of work that's gone on from health and science educators across the district in working towards this goal of updating our curriculum and ensuring that it's meeting the needs of our students. And I think now it's the next step is for each school to take on these this new approach and let us know how they can best implement it. We discussed the response to intervention, or RTI, which is how we are assisting students when they have specific lags or gaps in their learning progress. One of the key things is the idea behind this being that every teacher in our district really requires to have the kind of skill and expertise in analyzing data, being able to identify trends and gaps in student learning, and be able to provide these interventions as were just referenced. So that is going on. There is some professional development that is aimed at that. As we looked at our curriculum organizational chart, we are talking about how the role of special education teachers who are working within the district are shifting somewhat to support that effort, so that all of our teachers have access to that expertise and are developing those skills on their own. Finally, we did discuss the elementary literacy assessment, which has been an ongoing process for several years now. Deputy Superintendent Jean Franco has been shepherding this with great passion and commitment, and it has been going on and on. I know I report about it every time we have a curriculum subcommittee. I think one of the key things that we're looking at now is this concept of having a unifying assessment that we're using throughout the district. There have been recommendations made for a system that we will be using. The subcommittee did support that, so that we will be moving forward with, again, professional development for our literacy coaches and implementing this new universal assessment protocol that will allow us to have much more, I think, data that we'll be able to draw more valuable information from, just because it will be similar across the district, and we'll be comparing apples and apples, which will be far more compelling in terms of our information. I think that will go down as my shortest subcommittee report ever, and I would submit that to my colleagues as a report of progress.
Thank you. Accept the report as a report of progress by Mr. Conway, seconded by Ms. Doherty. All in favor, signify by saying aye. The report has been accepted and placed on file. I do not have the subcommittee report for the following. Transportation?
It
It's a verbal
doesn't,
report?
Your Honor, it is not. You know why? We did it last week.
Okay.
Scratch it. That's my shortest subcommittee report ever. I'm getting a start tonight, because the other one's going to be short, too.
So
And-
can I have a
and-
motion to just delete it?
Motion to delete.
Right. Did you record that, June?
Yes.
Okay. And the facility subcommittee, make my day. It's delayed? Okay.
Delete.
Delete.
Okay.
Delete. Thank you, miss.
The Joint Safety and Discipline Subcommittee report and approval of the minutes of May 26th.
Your Honor, motion to delay to the next meeting.
Okay.
Getting the second start tonight.
Okay. Delay to the next meeting. Who seconded that?
Mr. Leary did.
Thank you.
Lowell High School Subcommittee report and approval of the minutes of May 26, 2009. Jackie Doherty, Chairman.
I think most of what happened at that subcommittee meeting, we did meet on May 26, 2009, has been discussed on the floor regarding budget deliberations, regarding class size, accreditation, and things of that
Is that the
nature.
report as a report of progress? Is that
I
it?
would just say yes, accept the report as a report of progress.
Second.
Okay. Second by Ms. Fattacani. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The report has been accepted and placed on file as a report of progress. Let me see. Lowell High School Subcommittee report and approval of the minutes of June 4, 2009.
That-
Jackie Doherty.
Okay, that also happened on the floor of the
Okay.
school committee, so
Okay.
accept it as a report of progress, please.
Thank you. Athletics Subcommittee report and approval of the minutes of June 11,
Well, I
2009.
need a first and second on her,
Second.
okay?
First.
I need this.
Move for approval by Ms. Doherty, second by Ms. Fattacani. We've delayed that subcommittee report. Okay. Athletics Subcommittee report by Ms. Fattacani.
Thank you, Your Honor. I do need to give a quick rundown because this does impact our budget deliberations tonight, Your Honor. If you look at the small document that Mr. Lang gave out to us tonight, page 4, we're looking at two things in specific. I have to give a lot of kudos to the athletic director, Jim DeProfio. He really took a look at the athletic budget, and we did agree to recommend to the full committee to eliminate all of those assistant coaches that you see on the large light item on page 4 in the small document, Your Honor. The one issue that we do have to consider, and I believe I'm going to ask Mr. Lang to make some communication, and that is to discover what our bill is going to be, Your Honor, for the boathouse. Currently, we have, we're looking at $25,000.
Yes.
So that then makes crew our most expensive sport. And that may have some implications to what we need to do. Mr. Lang has indicated that price could be smaller, but I think we need to make some kind of communication to the individuals at the boat, at the athletic department at the university to see what, in fact, that will be.
Yes.
The other thing, Your Honor, and that is, it was one last thing, which again impacts the budget. We are going to reduce by $30,000 the athletic department contracted transportation services and only attend MIAA and New England Council sanctioned events. As explained by A.D. DeProfio, that does not in any way impact students being able to compete with other schools. These are just extra competitions that we do attend that are not necessarily with MIAA schools. It's great for the kids to have that opportunity, but Your Honor, with the budget the way it is, he did look at making that adjustment. We did agree on that.
This will be coming before the
Yes.
budget session later on.
And the last thing, Your Honor, we did make a motion to continue with the intramural sports program. So that would be an additional, that we're going to maintain that $70,000 in the athletic budget.
Why don't we accept the reporter's
Okay.
report of progress?
Thank
And
you.
then the committee can debate this later on with the budget. But getting back to motion to accept by John
I had a
Leahy.
question, though, quickly,
Sure.
if I
Go
could.
ahead.
Through you, maybe to the chair. I didn't get to attend the meeting. The one concern I had was with the crew,
Yes, sir.
just safety on the water. How did they address that?
Well, can you be more specific, sir, so I can
Well,
understand?
the way it was explained to me is.
I've been at training all week with law enforcement people, so I'm going to call everybody sir for several days now. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, John.
Well, I just want to make sure that if you have that many kids and that many boats out in the water, is there enough adult supervision
That
so
is,
that they're safe
that is
on
a
the water?
problem, through you, Your Honor, to my colleague, Mr. Leahy. That is a concern for the elimination of lots of these assistant coaches. That is a concern, but A.D. DeProfio did believe that there was adequate safety measures, especially in certain sports where youngsters, the JV and varsity, practiced at the same time, so there were more adults present than you would have if you weren't having the JV and the varsity practice at the same time. So that does assist with the additional adult supervision. He did not indicate that there was going to be any issue with crew at all.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
The safety is very paramount.
Absolutely.
But accept the reporter's report of progress by John Leahy, seconded by Connie Martin. All in favor, indicate by saying aye. Any
Aye.
opposed?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Subcommittee report has been accepted. I just want to dwell a little bit on the crew.
Yes, sir.
Crew team. As the mayor, I attended some crew team races up there last year. There was approximately 3,000 people at those races from all over New England. I could not believe the magnitude of the event. And I did find out that the parents of the Lowell High School crew team, they raised an awful lot of money to keep that program going. And I think that's what we have to look at long and hard, the involvement of the parents coming up with the funding. And it's very important. I mean, there are some youngsters who want to play football, some want to play baseball, basketball. There's some who want to get a scholarship and a crew team, probably at Harvard, Yale, whatever. So I think it's very important. Ms. Doherty?
Just on that note, I have to add that last weekend, our crew team participated in a national competition in Cincinnati. And even to get to that level, you have to compete
Right.
high enough to meet that standard. And our boys' team came in 5th in the nation, but they were the first public high school to go. They were the fastest public high school boat in that race.
It's wonderful.
It's a
And-
great program, and
and-
it's an honor that we, as an urban school system, have a program like that. But
And not every community has the Merrimack River as a great asset, and we should utilize it. But that's, I think it's very important for those youngsters who are involved in that sport. Olympics, who knows? So, moving on with the agenda, Transportation Subcommittee meeting of June 17th.
Thank you, Your Honor. We did have a Transportation Subcommittee meeting this evening. I have to give kudos to John Dakota, who is the director of this department. Your Honor, it was decided that what we were going to do was take our bus monitors and move them off our payroll for the Lowell School Department. And the company who is the special ed transporter is going to be picking up the salaries and hiring those individuals. And what that means, Your Honor, is it's a benefit to our students because there are some rules and regulations about how long a bus monitor can be on a bus because they're mostly
Yeah.
part-time.
Yeah.
These people will be full-time employees. They'll be working about 35 hours a week. That means they will have insurance and they will have 401ks. And when they are not working in the summer, Your Honor, they will be able to apply for some benefits that will assist them through the summer months. We probably will not see a savings this year because of all our unemployment benefit costs,
Right,
but
right.
we probably could see a $15,000 savings next year, Your Honor.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
And I looked in the budget, and those monitors are quite expensive.
Yes.
So we're going to save that money?
Yes, we are, sir.
That's wonderful. Accept the report as report of progress. So moved by Mr. Conway, seconded by Ms. Doherty. Did you have a question, Jack? Okay. The last subcommittee report, this is the fastest.
All those in favor?
Olympic time. Special Education Subcommittee report, meeting is 17th by Chairperson Jackie Doherty.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, the Special Ed Subcommittee did meet this evening. Present were Deb Westaway, Director of Special Education, my colleagues on the subcommittee, Connie Martin and John Leahy. We had one item on the agenda, and that was to discuss creating a position called speech-language assistants. This is a position that requires a bachelor's degree as opposed to our speech-language therapists that require a master's degree, and we have a very difficult time filling the therapist positions. So the idea was you hire an assistant who at much less pay, because they only have a bachelor's degree, and they are able to implement the IEPs that are put together by our therapists and under the supervision of our therapists, and that will enable us to meet the needs of our children who have speech-language needs, and also fulfill the need that we have in not being able to find the therapists. So the committee made that in the form of a motion by Ms. Martin to accept the recommendation of the administration, seconded by Mr. Leahy.
Is there financial issues here that we have to have a roll call
At this time, there is no financial impact. It is proposed that those positions would come out of stimulus money that we'll be looking at a later date.
Okay. Accept the report as report of progress. So moved by Ms. Faticani, seconded by Mr. Leary.
She doesn't want the motion?
I think we might need a roll call on the motion because we're creating a position.
But that's what I asked, if there was any financial issues. And you
Oh, it's not going to have a financial impact on the
said,
budget.
we're hiring someone it
You
is.
were hiring someone, yet need a motion for
We're
it. It
just
needs a roll call vote.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the distinction is that what we're trying to do is create a job description so that we would have access to it. The only time we would use this job description would be if we weren't able to find the full-fledged speech pathologist. In the case that we weren't able to do that, basically the salary that would have gone for that pathologist that we're not able to find or recruit effectively would then just transfer into this new position. But without the position on the books, we don't have the opportunity to hire somebody at a lower rate.
We'll take a roll call vote.
Okay. Okay, it was made, motion by Martin, seconded by Mr. Leary. Okay. Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante?
Yes?
Mr. Leahy?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Reports of the superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Somebody want some? No? Collaboration between Lowell Public Schools and the United Teachers of Lowell. Madam Superintendent?
Even during these very difficult financial times, we are very hopeful and excited about the collaboration between the administration and our teachers throughout the system, where we're coming together and working with our teachers to ask them for their expertise to come and analyze our data and literacy and numeracy. We're putting teams of teachers together to come to district office with the coaches, with the administration, to analyze our data, to come up with instructional plans and goals, and to really come together as a team and share the responsibility of taking our schools, especially our schools who are on the underperforming list, Commonwealth priority schools, to the next level. This report outlines the various initiatives that we've presently taken with regards to this collaborative. May 16th, over 250 teachers and administrators came out. We were AFT National, at a national level, has supported us in this initiative. They brought in a superintendent from California, Gary Smuts, and the president of the local Laura Recco from the ABC Federation of Teachers in California, who have had a collaborative partnership for over a decade, and they have seen great gains in their student scores and student achievement. So they came and spoke about their endeavors, and as we proceed into August and establish our literacy and numeracy teams and leadership teams within our schools, we are offering professional development for our teams, which will concentrate on skills instruction for effective communication, team building, data analysis, professional development to support student achievement, and action planning.
you're
So
right.
we're very
That's your right.
excited and pleased with this initiative, and we do believe that we will be able to positively impact student achievement because of it.
Move for approval by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. Leary. Why don't we take a roll call vote on this? It could involve...
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante?
Yes?
Mr. Leahy?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
The next report, Madam Superintendent?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Compliments to Jay Lang, Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Operation, and his staff for FY 2008 end-of-year pupil and financial report audit. Quote, "No instance of noncompliance with agreed-upon procedures were noted." Very impressive work indeed, $140 million and not one finding.
Any
Move approval, Your
questions
Honor.
on the report?
Move approval to
Move
accept?
approval by Ms. Fattacante, seconded by Mr. Conway. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Personnel report?
The personnel report and the list of eligible teachers have been recently added to your packet. They speak for themselves. Are there any questions?
Move approval, Your Honor.
Move approval by Ms. Fattacante, seconded by Mr. Leahy.
Yep.
Mr. Leahy.
Just one quick word. I just noticed that Jackie Butterfield's name is on there, music teacher at the Green Elch, and just should be noted that she did a great job when she was at the Varnum School all those years with the Strings Project. So just want to let her know that that was much appreciated. Thank you.
Ms. Fattacante, move for approval, seconded by Mr. Leahy. All in favor, signify by saying
Aye.
aye. And we go into new business, Ms.
Yes.
Madam Superintendent.
The 100th year of education at the Washington School Celebration. As a part of the Washington School 100th year of education celebration, the principal, Matthew Stahl, is requesting school committee approval to hold a 2-day carnival on September the 19th and 20th, 2009 on the Washington School property. I've attached the letter from the principal requesting this, and I believe we need a roll call vote.
Just a fair question to ask. Will there be, the students and everyone will be covered by insurance and things of that nature? Or anything that would they involvement?
That's my understanding. They fall under the city.
Okay. Move for approval by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Doherty. Why don't we take a roll call on this as well?
Mr. Leary,
Yes.
Miss Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Mr. Conway,
Yes.
Miss Doherty,
Yes.
Miss Fattacante,
Yes?
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Permission to post speech language assistance. You already did that? Great. Okay. Yes, Madam Superintendent?
I believe we need a roll call vote on the salary.
What's that now?
I believe we need a roll call vote on the salary.
For
that correct?
the speech
Speech
language assistance?
Yeah,
Okay.
consistent with the creation of a new position, we should have a
Move for approval
motion
by Mr.
to
Leary,
establish the
seconded
position.
by Ms. Fattacani. Roll call.
But what is the salary? Shouldn't I write it, it should be written in the minutes.
$35,000.
Mr. Leary,
Yes.
Miss Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield,
Yes.
Mr. Conway,
Yes.
Miss Doherty,
Yes.
Miss Fattacante.
Yes?
Mr. Leahy,
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Okay, convention conference request. Madam Superintendent?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, overnight trip request, which you gave with regards to our coaches, the LHS girls and boys track and athletics team. The second one, Deputy Superintendent Jean Franco, and the Teacher Academy Coordinator Kathleen O'Connor to attend the American Federation of Teacher Annual Quest Quality Education Standards and Teaching Conference to be held July 12th to 15th in Washington, D.C. The cost of the conference will not exceed $2,400 and will be grant funded. No substitutes are needed. And the third one, overnight field trip request, LHS teacher Katie Keefe, along with approximately 24 students and 4 chaperones to travel to England, Ireland, Wales from Saturday, February the 13th, 2010, and return on Sunday, February the 21st, 2010. This is during school vacation. The estimated price per student is $2,100, and several fundraisers are planned for next year to help offset a portion of the cost. There will be no cost to the school department budget. No substitutes are required.
Move approval, Your Honor.
Move approval by Ms. Fattacani, seconded by Mr. Leary. Why don't we take a roll call on that?
Mr. Leary,
Yes.
Miss Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield,
Yes.
Mr. Conway,
Yes.
Miss Doherty.
Yes.
Miss Fattacante.
Yes?
Mr. Leahy,
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Deputy Superintendent Jean Franco in the Teacher Academy. That's the next one.
We went through those, Your Honor.
All three.
All
All done.
yes, all done.
Excellent. So they're all approved. All right. No communications. Professional personnel. The members of the Lowell High School Administrators Association hereby request to donate 11 sick days. Fontaine McCarthy Guidance Counselor at the Rogers School. So move for approval by Mr. Conway.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Leary. We don't need a roll call vote on that.
Yes, you do, 'cause
Okay,
it's-
roll
yeah.
call vote.
Okay, Your Honor, how about if we take them both together?
Yeah. And
So I move approval for the second one?
Members of the United Teachers of Lowell hereby request to donate sick leave days to the following: Katie Moriarty, Lois McLaughlin, Kimberly Sheehy, Nancy Cohen. Move for approval by Ms. Fattacani, seconded by Ms. Martin. Roll call.
Mr. Leary,
Yes.
Miss Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield,
Yes.
Mr. Conway,
Yes.
Miss Doherty,
Yes.
Miss Fattacante.
Yes?
Mr. Leahy,
Yes.
7 yeas, both approved.
Is there anything else to discuss before we adjourn this meeting? We will take a 5-minute recess, and then we will go into the budget deliberations.
Motion to adjourn.
By Ms. Fattacani, second by Ms. Martin. All right, so-
start on page one, I hope.
No, we're gonna start with this.
It's what?
This is the formula I received.
Oh, I didn't receive any formula, it's mine.
I know, but I have to get...
Roll call.
Smart. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Leahy,
Here.
Mr. Leary,
Here.
Miss Martin, Mayor Caulfield, Mr. Conway,
Here.
Miss Doherty,
Here.
Miss Spadacante,
Here?
7 present.
I've been informed maybe 7 minutes ago that the committee will go into executive session to discuss a matter with a certain segment of the unions.
Motion to go into executive session, Your Honor,
Motion to go into executive session by Ms. Fattacani.
with the intention of returning.
Yes. with,
Thank you, Ms. Martin.
Seconded by Connie Martin. Roll call.
Mr. Leahy,
Yes.
Mr. Leary,
Yes.
Miss Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield,
Yes.
Mr. Conway,
Yes.
Miss Doherty,
Yes.
Miss Spadacante.
Yes?
7 yeas, approved.
I want to thank you for your patience. We'll be back as soon as possible. Thank you. start right here, page 3, and this is no different than a workout.
Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Give me 2 seconds. Separate this.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mr. Leahy.
Here.
Mr. Leary.
Here.
Miss Martin. Here. Mayor Caulfield.
Here.
Mr. Conway.
Here.
Miss Doherty.
Here.
Miss Spadacante.
Here.
7 present.
Thank you for being so patient with us. And before we start the budget deliberations, Mr. Lang, can you give us a bottom figure on how much we have cut and what we plan to cut this evening?
Sure. With the, give me 1 second.
Sure.
All right, when we first started the budget hearing on May 30th, we reduced the budget by $4,554,421. And then we reconvened on June 10th, and we cut the budget further by $1,469,802. In the revised budget pack that I gave you, the budget had originally included a circuit breaker reimbursement amount based on 30% of last year's figure, and the Senate has come out and in the Senate budget, and the DOE came out with an advisory saying that could be budgeted at 40% reimbursement instead of 30. So I've made a journal entry of an additional $268,679. So in actual cuts to date, you've made $6,024,223. And using that Senate stimulus number, the $4.2 million, that leaves us with an additional $1,504,843 to be reduced under the Senate budget funding.
Jay, what was that bottom? 6 million?
So far, you've cut $6,024,223, and remaining $1,504,843.
Thank you. Thank you. The budget the budget process, or the deliberations will begin. And what's the wish of the committee? Mr. Leahy.
Sure, Your Honor. I'd like to start off by, it was a unanimous decision by the Lowell School Committee that we would like to make a motion. I would like to make the motion that we will donate back part of our stipend to the budget here.
Budget. Seconded by
Second.
Ms. Martin. When we take a roll call on that to get it recorded in the minutes.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Miss Martin.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
Miss Doherty.
Yes.
Miss Spadacante.
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
I'm on page 3 of the worksheet. I'm sorry, Mr. Lang? What is it?
I need a motion to go to page 3. I need a,
We're not going there yet.
okay.
Madam Superintendent.
Mayor, I'd also just like to acknowledge that our principals did come forward as well and gave 1% that was due to them on June 30th of this year that was already negotiated, totaling the amount of $21,947 that would hit this budget year. And giving up that 1%, although it's $22,000, that is a reoccurring cost to our budget that we will not incur in years going forward. As well, we would like to also acknowledge that our clerks came forward at the last meeting, and we are very appreciative of their concession of $30,449 as well. We appreciate their consideration, and myself and the assistant superintendents and the deputy also gave back their salary increases totaling just over $14,000. Is anything else, Susan? No.
Mr. Leary?
Just first, I'd like to thank the senior administration at central office, and to thank each and every one of our principals for showing leadership and giving up that 1%. I think that's it does start at the top, and granted, the monies, because that we administrators are small in number, it's not a huge number, but it is a big number when you're talking of the benefit that they've just given us. Thank you.
Ms. Fattacani?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd also like to thank the clerks. They did come before the school committee at the last meeting, and they were the first group of individuals to speak to the committee about donating or not taking or taking furlough days. So it's this committee, I believe, truly appreciates their willingness to assist in this tough economic time.
And we all agree that that's leadership on their part, and we thank them.
Yes.
Any other discussions, Madam Superintendent? Jay?
Not
Anything?
at this time, Your Honor.
Are you all set?
Yes, sir.
Then this worksheet, I'm on page 3, and let the budget deliberations begin. Who would like to?
I believe the administration will be walking us through this.
Yeah, I need a motion to go to page.
Motion to go to page 3.
Okay, we will begin, and I'll go through this.
We're on page 3 at the, okay.
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll walk you through these. The first recommendation, as some of you may know, the Director of Special Education has announced that she's retiring at the end of this school year. The superintendent can speak, and Ian Murphy as well, to the difficulty that's going to leave the department in. But given the financial times, the recommendation is to temporarily leave the Director of Special Education position vacant for the 2009-2010 school year, and then bargain with the LSAA to establish a stipend that could possibly be granted to an employee for assuming the duties over the course of the school year. I can say, and others will speak as well, it's very difficult to go without a Director of Special Education position. The workload is significant. The reporting is significant. This is not something I personally would recommend long-term, and the superintendent can address as well, but I think just given the finances and the fact that the individual is retiring, the recommendation is to reduce that line item by $104,584.
Move
Just
approval, Your
further
Honor.
to that,
Ms. Martin, you want to speak? Madam Superintendent?
just further to that, again, this isn't a cut that we want to make, but it is our understanding from talking with various members of the committee that we are facing very difficult financial times. But this cut is significant for us, and in the context of various other student support services cuts that I would like just to remind the committee about. We are in the process of eliminating the district support specialist position at 2 of those positions, as well as the coordinator of special programs, the Lowell High School coordinator of student support services, guidance counselors, and the director of the special education and her position. Just so the committee is aware of her present significant job function, supervises and evaluates a department of 55 staff, including psychologists, evaluation team chairperson, social workers, autism specialists, and clerks, responsible for the programmatic development and oversight of the delivery of services to 2,470 special education students coordinates the delivery of services through 175 special education teachers, 159 paraprofessionals, and 35 therapists, writes and maintains the federal special education grant of $4 million, oversees out-of-district placement, tuition, circuit breaker reimbursement in excess of $6 million, and responsible for maintaining district compliance with federal and state special education laws. The difficulty that we presently face is that I am not, as you know, hopeful that FY11 will be any better. And this is the type and level of cuts that we are facing this year, next year, and in FY12. This level of cut, we will strategically, the proposal in front of you, right now we have approached assistants who presently work for us who have that certification. They are not interested in the position based on the workload, based on the responsibilities associated with it. So this position, we're encouraging you to keep on the books, although at this time we can't afford it, but to reconsider. We will do our best to, as we have with all the other cuts, to ensure that these duties get done by other personnel in the department to the extent that we are able. But it is a very challenging and deep cut for us.
Ms. Martin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. You know, I think that we all recognize, certainly not just the committee sitting here, but across our district, we all recognize how critically important this position is. In a district like ours, where the special education needs are really so pervasive across the district, we're a district that's struggled up till now to ensure that we're providing the appropriate level of service, that we are, you know, in least restrictive environments, that we are, you know, giving children the, you know, an appropriate educational experience. We all know how critically important this position has been to that. I think as we look at our budget for right now and looking forward, we need to make some decisions in the immediate moment. I don't dispute that those are not generally the best ways to make decisions. But the reality is that the opportunity to realize this kind of savings right now is something we can't walk away from, in my opinion. We need to take this chance, this risk. One of the things that allows me to vote for this, even with great trepidation, is the idea that we do have in Assistant Superintendent Ann Murphy the capacity, I think, to remain successful in our endeavors in this. I, for one, am very appreciative that she's willing to take this on, and even more appreciative that she has the abilities and talents to take this on. I think that we all recognize that it's going to be a great deal of stress for her and for her office, and we appreciate her taking this chance with us. And I think that we need to be very cognizant of the fact that a year from now, we may not be able to avail ourselves of this again. I mean, we may be able to make it through this year, but the reality is that no matter how bad the situation is next year, we still may need to bring this position back, because it really is that central to our mission. But I will be voting to support this cut right now, and recognizing that it is going to really require stepping up from a number of different staff, and I'm in advance very appreciative of all that they'll be doing to make this hopefully continue to work.
Mr. Leary?
Just quickly, I'd like to echo exactly what my colleague said, and if not for the Assistant Superintendent Ann Murphy, I have some confidence, a lot of confidence, that we are going to be successful with it, although it's not ideal by any stretch of the imagination. And the words that Ms. Martin said, I'm not going to repeat them exactly how I feel. It's an important, special ed is one of the biggest drivers of cost in the school departments. It's one of the most regulated, and it's regulated in a way from the federal and the state government. So I know we're going to have a big burden on us next year, but with the cuts that we're looking at $7.8 million, it's something that we can't, at this point in time, not take. Thank you.
Ms. Doherty?
Thank you, Your Honor. I have to say I have some major concerns about this move. And I felt the same way about the high school cut with the coordinator of student services. These are our most vulnerable students. And we have made major strides in terms of meeting mandatory state timelines and getting the evaluations and all that within the state requirements. And we've just started to look at how to deliver the services to those students who need it better. And now we're taking 2 huge chunks out of student services at the high school and now district-wide. So I don't know if I can support it in good conscience. I think it'll probably go anyway, but I would ask that we get a report to the special ed subcommittee that we can then share with the entire committee about how the administration is going to meet the needs of these students without these 2 key administrators. And I have no doubt that Assistant Superintendent Ann Murphy is a hard worker and knows this business, but she's one person, and we've cut a number of people out of that whole department. And I need to see a coordinated plan about how we're going to go forward and meet the needs of these students without the leadership, the depth of leadership we need to do it. 2,400 students with special education plans.
Mr. Leahy?
Thank you. I just want to add that, obviously nobody wants to make this cut. It was a surprise to me that you wanted to retire. But, that's why we have two assistant directors. And I think that, that's their job, to step up. We're not asking them to step up for the whole year, but, when you're an assistant to whatever, you need to step up when we need you. So I'm sure they're willing to help out. We're not gonna overburden anybody more than we have to, but they're more than competent. They're 2 great individuals, and they're in a leadership position, and I'm confident that they'll step up with the assistant superintendent. So is it ideal? No, but it's not the end of the department. Thank you.
Madam Superintendent?
I agree with Mr. Leahy. The employees that we're presently discussing will give 150% and continue and will continue to do so. The unfortunate position that we are all in presently is that I can't sit here tonight and say that this isn't going to have an impact, and I think every school committee member appreciates that, understands that, and there are no good cuts that are left here to make. So gone is the day where we can sit here and say, we can cut this with little impact. The cuts that we're looking at tonight, as you are all aware, will have significant impact.
Mr. Leary, and then we'll take a roll call.
Just want to make the motion, actually, because we haven't made a motion on it. Make a motion to cut the $104,584 for the Director of Special Education position.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Fattacani. Before I ask for a roll call.
Hold on, Mayor, I want to make sure we're not getting rid of the position. I think we should leave leave $1 in that to ensure the positions exist.
We actually don't need to do that.
Okay, that's fine. As long as we're cognizant of that, that's fine. Thank you.
I just want to comment on our colleague, Mr. Leahy. John, your remarks are right on the money. That's what assistants are for. In these difficult times, everyone has to come together and make it work. And I'm very confident the superintendent, Ann Murphy, and that assistant will make this program work. Roll call.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
Ms. Doherty.
No.
Ms. Fattacante.
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 nay, approved.
The next issue on this next agenda item is eliminate 1 clerk position in student support services. Ms. Martin? Nope.
Mr. Lang, please.
So the elimination of 1 clerk position in student support services for the amount of $40,688.
Second.
Move for approval by Ms. Martin. Do I hear a second?
Second, Your Honor.
Second by Ms. Fattacani. Any discussion, any debate? Roll call.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante.
Yes?
7 yeas, approved.
The next agenda item is to eliminate 2 mathematic teacher positions.
Your Honor? Oh, go ahead. Ms. Doherty can go ahead.
Ms. Doherty.
I would move that we go to the alternate proposal, which is to reduce 4 teacher positions from Lowell High School at a savings, that number can't be right, right?
No.
Per person, okay, 46,421 per, to attain a 21-to-1 student-teacher ratio for 2009-2010, and request that the superintendent and headmaster provide a report to the Lowell High Subcommittee on June 23rd outlining recommendations for the 4 full-time positions to be eliminated.
Mr. Leary?
Just quickly, I think the key that Ms. Doherty articulated is that, and I think the committee entirely articulated, that we wanted to keep Latin and we wanted a dance teacher. So I think what we said, and Mr. Samaras, I think, said at the last meeting is, I need to know the final number so I can bring those proposals. I agree with the motion. It's something that we had discussed at, I think, 2 different Lowell High School subcommittee meetings on the floor at various times. It's not something that anybody wants to do, but we do have a declining enrollment at the high school. We do need to make cuts up to $7.8 million. So we really, it's not a good choice, and not a good choice of bad choices, but it's something that I think has to be done. The headmaster runs that school, and he's going to provide a plan for us that's going to make the school work. Thank you.
Ms. Martin?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Can I ask, through you to Mr. Lang, the total dollar amount we would anticipate in savings with this alternative proposal?
Sure, it's 4 positions at 46,421 is what we're carrying as a teacher amount, so it'd be 185,684.
And there'd be additional health insurance savings?
Yeah, I'm doing the health at the end, but it's 11,301 per health insurance package.
Thank you.
So the vote here is $185,684. Any discussion, debate? Roll call.
Mr. Leahy,
Yes.
Mr. Leary,
Yes.
Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Mr. Conway,
No.
Ms. Doherty,
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante.
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 nay, it's approved.
The next agenda item, anyone have a problem with that, John Leahy?
Yeah, I thought we already voted on a couple of these, so could we get we didn't.
The next position was the adaptive phys ed position. There was an individual in this position mid-year who retired, and this individual circulated around some of the elementary schools servicing the special needs population, and the duties have been picked up by the regular phys ed teachers in each of the elementary schools. So there's no one in this position right now. We didn't get to the elementary level of the cut page, and that's where this was included. So we'd recommend at this point eliminating that position at 46,421.
I apologize, I was looking at the next 2 cuts, so this one I'm fine on. I need an explanation on the next 2. This one I'm all set.
Move approval to eliminate the adaptive physical education teacher position.
Move approved by
Second.
Ms. Fattacante, second by Ms. Doherty. Any discussion, debate? Roll call.
Mr. Leahy,
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante.
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Eliminate 1 dance teacher position. Is that on your agenda?
No, Your Honor, we have
46.
decided not to do that.
Not going to do that.
No, sir.
Okay.
We're now at the video production and studio videographer positions, and we have an alternate proposal.
What page is that on?
Bottom of page 3, Your Honor.
It's in blue.
okay, I'm
In
sorry.
blue at the bottom of
I'm
page
sorry.
3.
Okay, I have it. Madam Superintendent?
Thank you. An alternate proposal for these 2 positions. Lowell Public Schools currently receives $90,000 annually through the City of Lowell cable access contract with Comcast. The suggestion is that we could transfer the funds of the 1 FTE TV studio video position from the local budget to Comcast cable access contract fees. This will leave a balance of approximately $45,000 for equipment and supplies to support the TV studio outside of the local budget.
Ms. Martin?
Again, could I ask what the actual elimination of dollars would be if we accept
Sure.
that alternative?
There were two positions that were originally discussed
Right.
during the budget session. I feel it's too much and puts too much of a burden on the Comcast money to move the higher funded position, because the studio is going to need funds to replace equipment and supplies and things of that sort. So I'm recommending the lower of the two position salaries. So it will be a reduction of $49,886. It's the salary that's carried right above the alternate block.
So, Mr. Lang, you are saying that we will eliminate the TV studio videographer?
We're not eliminating him, we're moving
Just
him from
removing
local
it,
funding
okay.
onto the city Comcast contract.
Okay.
So the individual in the position will stay, the funding source will differ, so you'll realize the approximately $50,000 savings in your local budget. In years past, just to provide a historical, there was a position that was funded on these funds. When the individual vacated the position for whatever reason, we didn't go back in and reinstate it. So there has been a practice of actually funding a position out of these funds, and it is an allowable use of the funds. So at least it will be a savings and still maintain the program, moving the lower of the two salaries onto the cable contract.
Ms. Doherty?
I would move to accept alternate proposal number 2. Make a motion to accept that.
Mr. Conway?
Second that.
Second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Leahy,
Yes.
Mr. Leary,
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante.
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Madam Superintendent?
Yes, the elimination of the attendance officer position for the amount of $72,814,
What page is that?
the top of page
Top of
4.
four.
Okay. $72,814?
Your Honor?
Yes,
Sorry.
Mr. Lee.
I would make the motion that we go with the alternative proposal underneath in blue.
I'll second that.
Motion to...
And that allows us to keep the attendance officer, Your Honor.
Right. Seconded by Ms. Fattacante. Ms. Doherty?
Through you, Your Honor, to the superintendent. The last time this attendance officer position came up for discussion, you indicated that we are required to name somebody as an attendance officer.
That's correct.
And where that recommendation came from you, I'm wondering what your plan was in terms of naming an attendance officer position, what
But-
we would do.
Right, by state law, we do have to, as I previously stated, need an attendance officer on record. The suggestion was that one of the lawyers who signs off on the chins could do that, just as the same as we are collapsing other responsibilities as we eliminate positions that also would be absorbed by somebody else in a different position.
If I could follow up with another question, sir. When we're looking at this alternative proposal,
Yes,
that is the current high school absentee program that's in place, where we have police officers visiting homes, clerks making calls to families. Is that correct?
that is part of that. There is also Shannon Grant money that
Okay.
also funds visits to home, so it's not the program in its entirety.
So I guess my question is that that program in its entirety has been very successful. We've
Correct.
seen huge improvements in student attendance, and the statistic I know off the top of my head is 6% improvement at the freshman academy in student attendance. What I don't understand is what the attendance officer role does, that we would give up a program that's been very successful, that's had a huge impact with results we can measure,
Right.
to keep a position that, my understanding is we've gone to school-based attendance initiatives. So what does the attendance officer position, what role does it currently play in these attendance initiatives?
Right. Mr. Mayor, would it be okay to ask Mr. Samaras to come to the mic to speak to this in full?
Sure.
Thank you.
Definitely. Okay, you.
Your Honor, while Mr. Samaras is making his way to the microphone, let's also remember that this is a position that is required through the that is required through the Massachusetts legislature. And one of the things that we discovered several years ago when we looked at reorganizing this department is that this is the person that can go to court. So if we want to have our special ed lawyer in court 24/7, fine. Then we might as well not have that person do special ed. Or if we want to have student services attorney be in court all the time, but this person is the person who is able to take the case to court. So when they're not there, the responsibility falls on someone else. Principals can't do it because they're not attendance officers. That's part of the dilemma. And that it's a huge dilemma because it's a position that is unlike any other in our budget.
Just quickly before Mr. Mayor speaks, just to go what my colleague was saying. My understanding is 3 people in the department. There's the attendance officer and there's 2 assistants. The question to the superintendent, does the attendance officer right now go into court, or is it the assistant, or whatever the title is of the 2 folks in that department go to court?
Through me to Ann Murphy, if you wouldn't mind, Assistant Superintendent, to give the details on that.
Presently, we have a supervisor of attendance, and we have 2 attendance monitors, and that work on a part-time schedule. One of the attendance monitors is responsible for all the court proceedings, and he is in court.
So one of the people that are not proposed are actually doing all of the court issues. Now, another issue came up, if that's a correct statement, or is that an incorrect?
That's correct.
Okay. Just another quick question, and I can hear more information. Another statement made last meeting, and I don't think we got an answer to it, is a civil service position that we're mandated to have. And that's obviously, we're mandated to have it, it's all mere conjecture, it's a done issue. Is that an accurate statement, or is that an inaccurate statement? I know that the state legislature mandates that we have an attendance officer, but that could be a variety of different combination of positions. But if it's a civil service position, that's a much different issue. Is that correct, or is that incorrect?
A little of both.
Gotta get Mr. Samaras.
The majority of positions in a municipality, such as Lowell, on the city side and school side, outside of teaching administrative, are civil service positions. So we have several positions in the school department that are. There's a process you go through to either abolish or, in a situation, not particularly this position, but other positions, you would fund them at $1 to keep them active in your budget to be able to reinstate at a particular point in time. You wouldn't outright abolish them unless you never wanted them to come back. And there's certain paperwork you have to file with civil service when you either eliminate a position, give proper notice, things of that sort. The general answer would be yes, you can abolish a civil service position, you can eliminate a civil service position. There are just different procedures you have to follow. With respect to this, and the superintendent can speak with it, there are a number of positions within a school department that are required by law to have someone hold that certification. Similar to the special ed director. You have to have someone in a school system that is certified to be your special ed director. We have the luxury of other people in the school department being certified in that particular area. You have to have someone certified as the business administrator. There are certain of those positions. Similarly to this position, you have to have someone under Mass General Law that is certified as a supervisor of attendance. It does not actually have to be an attendance officer position, but someone in the district would have to hold that certification to be in compliance with the law.
Okay, Mr. Samaras?
Just for your information, Mayor, there's a number of people who've signed up to speak here. I'm not sure if you're aware of that.
I didn't? No.
Okay, just to let you know. The question, I believe, is the role of the attendance officer at the high school,
correct.
or just high school?
That as well as the
Attendance officer.
buyback the absent-tardy program and the use.
Okay, the absent tardy program, whether you use the Shannon grant, we use the resource officers. The resource officers go into the homes and actually examine what's going on in the home. If they find that there's an issue that would require some type of outside agency, such as social workers, DYS, DSS services, they would make that contact. We also, through the Shannon grant, we have our clerks and liaisons that call and speak in the language to the homes, talking to the children about to the parents and the children about coming back to school. They also set up meetings and schedules with the house masters or house master interns to deal with this issue. This program has been very, very successful. In regard to the truant officer by law, he's the only person that has the right to go into a home and actually transport a student to the high school. A police officer would have to have that standing also. But we basically do not use that practice any longer that I'm aware of. However, we use the present truant officer to bring closure to a number of truants. In other words, some of those students who just have not been identified, the police can't find them by telephone, and he'll close the books on that. Or if we find a family that is reluctant to send their child to the school any longer, he will finish off the filing of that information. But a lot of the work is done through the resource officer program and the calls that are made by my clerical staff and liaisons. So it's a number of issues.
Mr. Samaras, let me ask you this question. It indicates here that the school resource officers, to make home visits to students, they'll be on overtime?
I don't know in other words, it is an overtime.
Who's going to pay for that?
We pay through grants, through the Shannon grant, and also through grants through the police department. So that has not been, and we've had some city monies to pay for that. But that has been a very successful program for the purpose that happens, because we have a number of families that, what our resource officers do find out, that there are issues in the family that a housemaster really can't deal with. It really is a problem, and they do a good job at that.
So the alternate proposal is something you could agree to, or is that?
Which alternate, I'm not fully
Madam Superintendent.
aware of that, the complete proposal.
The recommendation that came from Mr. Samaras after budget discussion was the attendance officer position. So that is what we brought forward in the first proposal. In our most recent budget hearing, there was some discussion around concern over cutting that particular position. So we've identified other funds in our budget that addresses attendance issues so that we could not make that cut if in fact that was the wish of the committee.
Well, the program that we have, which we make the telephone calls and the visits, I strongly support that program, advocate that program, because it has had a great deal of success.
Okay. Mr. Conway? Thank you, Mr. Samaras.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As a housemaster for a number of years, I had the privilege, actually, of working with all these individuals that Mr. Samaras has just mentioned. And the attendance officer, plus the Shannon grant, plus the clerks making their telephone calls, the housemasters making calls, guidance counselors and so forth. It certainly is a joint effort in order to improve attendance. And I think we'll all agree that attendance is something that's extremely important, and without having those students in those seats, needless to say, education isn't going to take place. I dare say the housemasters I know certainly worked very, very close with the attendance officer on a daily basis. We used to often joke about who was going to get to him first so we could have him over in the office. I think that, to be quite frank with you, when I take a look at the attendance officer position and the alternative proposal, to be quite frank with you, we need both of them. I do not see how we can function as well as we have been without this team effort. Each and every one of those individuals in groups help to make attendance as successful as it is today. And I cannot in all good conscience eliminate the attendance officer. Again, that proposal. We need every possible trick in the book in order to help us with our attendance. Again, I cannot. Thank you.
Ms. Doherty, and then we're going to go back to the original motion. Ms. Doherty?
Thank you, Ron. I'll make this quick. I certainly respect my colleague's position that both positions are useful. From my perspective, the 5 years I've been serving on the school committee, I saw the movement in attendance when we instituted alternate proposal 3. That was when we saw huge numbers of kids coming to school. There's a culture change that's happening. And I think that's why you see the administration and the headmaster supporting keeping the alternative 3 in the system, that the police officers, the phone calls, that concerted effort has made a huge impact. The other thing that I think is very important for us to recognize is that while the line item out of our budget is $72,000 for both of these options, the program, the absent tardy program, is also funded with Shannon Grant money, and as you may be aware, that money has been cut at the state level, I believe 50%. So the police will be dealing with less funding in that grant, as will the schools, and I am just very concerned that if we cut a program that has demonstrated huge success in student attendance and keep a position that I think has been, there's been a change in how we approach attendance. It's much more school-based. We've seen the results of that approach. That we will, in fact, eliminate the school absentee position or make it so small that it has no significance. And that would be a real shame to go back. Thank you.
Mr. Leahy made a motion to adopt the alternative proposal 3. Is that so, Mr. Leahy?
Yes.
Who seconded that motion? Second by Ms. Fattacani. Roll call.
Ms. Mr. Leahy,
Yes.
Mr. Leary,
No.
Ms. Martin,
No.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Mr. Conway,
No.
Ms. Doherty,
No.
Ms. Fattacante.
Yes.
3 yeas, 4 nays, defeated.
I make a motion that we eliminate the attendance officer position.
Who seconded that motion? By Ms. Martin. Roll call.
No.
Mr. Leahy. We like call your name.
No.
Mr. Leary,
Yes.
Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Mr. Conway,
No.
Ms. Doherty,
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante.
No.
4 yeas, 3 nays, passes.
I want to apologize for not recognizing these people who have signed up to speak, and I didn't know there was a list, so I apologize for that. So anyone who wants to come to the podium and address the committee for 5 minutes or less, you're certainly welcome to do so. And Edith LeBrun is a 200 Marcus Street.
Thank you, Your Honor. Edith LeBrand, 200 Marcus Street. I'm also the principal of the Sullivan Middle School. I would like to address the proposal that's coming up on the table about the library media specialist departmental cut and elimination. In the literate world, the library is the center of the universe. The library is the repository of fact and fiction, of knowledge and wonder, of inquiry and action, of information and application, and the library media specialist is the guide. A library media specialist is not merely the keeper of books. He or she is not only a requirement for accreditation at our high school. A library media specialist develops and maintains a literacy collection that is current, aligned with the curriculum, and accessible for students at all reading levels and in all areas of interest. A library media specialist instills a love of reading. He or she creates an atmosphere that is friendly and inviting to students and staff. A quality library media specialist guides teachers in lesson plan development to expand their own content knowledge, extend the learning for students, and include higher level research skills in all activities. A library becomes an extension of a classroom, not an addition to it. These actions cannot occur without a library media specialist. By eliminating this valuable educator, a library is just a room. Reading can become a chore and not a pleasure. A book just sits on a shelf and does not call out to a student to grab it and get lost inside its pages. Without a library media specialist, teachers and administrators will use a vital support to the curriculum. Who will entice our students to read with book talks? Who will enhance student learning through research and technology? Who will seek the funds and grants to support visiting authors to share their craft with aspiring student writers? Who will challenge staff, students, school committee, and community members during our March Madness to read 2 books in the month? Who will keep the core skills of literacy programs alive in every content area in all of our schools? Please reconsider the impact of the possible elimination of the library media specialists and what this will have on every school within our district. The literate worlds of our schools with the library at its core will be lost. The disservice to the children of Lowell will be without measure. I implore this committee to make the hard decisions that have been recommended, not without effort, by our superintendent and our assistant superintendent for business, to provide a balanced budget, rather than agreeing to disagree and negotiating other cuts, such as these types of eliminations to our school department. Thank you.
Excuse me, I'm actually not on the list, but my name is Allison Larraba. I'm at 116 Featherston Ave, and I just have to say I cannot believe the committee members stood up and left the room while somebody was speaking about something that is very important to them. I am appalled. I just had to say that. I'm appalled. Thank you.
Jeannie Durkin.
Janine Durkin, Director of the Clement G. McDonough Freshman Academy, Lowell High School. Mr. Mayor, members of the school committee, Superintendent Scott, and members of the Lowell Public School Administration, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. It's interesting, I speak to over 800 students every day, and my knees don't shake like this, so bear with me. As I reflect on the budgetary process that's occurred over the past few weeks, what strikes me most are the discussions of positions being considered for elimination. These positions represent staff from all unions, various roles in our schools. Through this very difficult process, many of these individual positions have been portrayed as more important to our students than another. As I reflect on the work of the dedicated staff at Lowell High School, I implore our committee members to think of these positions not as individuals, some perceived as more vital than another, but to understand that it is the collective power of these individuals working as teams every day to ensure that our students are successful. It is this same collective power that our district administrators and our school committee members displayed when they reviewed high school data and made structural and administrative changes to strengthen guidance and departmental systems at the high school. Additionally, in 2005, administrators recognized that what we were doing for freshmen, it just wasn't good enough. With over 40% of our freshmen failing, with attendance rates that dipped as low as 80%, our administrators knew that something had to change. The model that district administrators and school committee members put in place at that time has proven that with the right people, we can increase the chance of success for all students at Lowell High School. I'd like to take a moment to share the value of this collective power as it's developed at my home, the Freshman Academy. It's our clerical staff, our security guards, it's our resource officers, our nurse, our custodians, our cafeteria staff, all working together with our teachers and administrators to create a welcoming environment that says you belong here. We want you to be healthy, safe, and we want you to be able to learn. That's the collective power of a team. It's our cluster teachers sharing one cohort of grade 9 students, creating a small learning community that allows teachers and students to build very strong relationships. It's when teachers meet formally each week with Freshman Academy support specialists and guidance counselors, and our social workers meeting every week with over 200 team meetings this year to assess student progress. That's the collective power of teamwork in action. When, as a result of these 200 meetings, this same team of educators collectively conduct over 1,100 parent meetings, formal TATs, and special ed evals to address individual student needs. When over 2,500 attendance calls are made by our guidance counselors and support specialists, resulting in 284 students who have been able to complete buyback to guarantee their credits in all 7 scheduled classes. That's the power of collective teaming. The Freshman Academy vision is for all students who enter grade 9 to successfully leave with the skills and knowledge to enter grade 10 and be successful without remediation. This is reflective in the work of our Freshman Academy teachers, holding students accountable for high standards of learning and discipline daily. It's reflected in our support specialists handling over 3,000 disciplinary actions to date this year, our social worker over 700 crisis incidents, and our guidance over 5,000 student meetings. These are essential to our student success. That's the collective power of a team. It's our team of teachers meeting formally as content-based teams to address course content, instruction, and assessment, and working to embed literacy across all content areas, and being willing to do that and step out of their comfort zone so that students will succeed. It's our department heads, along with Freshman Academy and administrators, not being able to afraid to look at the brutal facts and say, hey, yeah, we have made great gains. 84% of our students are passing. But 84% isn't good enough. We are still failing some of our students. So taking a good hard look and saying, what do we do different for these students? Creating extra math classes, supporting students with a summer ramp-up program before they even get to 9th grade. That's the collective power of a team. When magazines and newspapers and colleagues from other districts and our very own State Department of Education point to Lowell High School, to the progress that's been made, they do not point to one individual member, nor should they. They point to the teams of teachers that work in a cluster model. They point to the teachers who work with their department heads daily on content, approaches to discipline as a team, and they ask about the safety nets that we provide for students. They want to know about our team. They want to know how we work collaboratively to ensure that we're doing the best for students. So in closing, I would like to share with all of the decision makers present tonight the mantra of the Freshman Academy at Lowell High School that is modeled for our students daily through their collective power of our team. This is important work. With your support, we can do this. We will not give up on you. Please let our decisions, the decisions you make tonight, echo the decisions you made several years back. With these words to the students and staff at Lowell High School, thank you.
There are 8 more speakers, so please keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. We'll be, we have an agenda to go through. I want everyone to speak, but please keep your comments to at least 5 minutes or less. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ada Gonzalez from 229 Church Street, apartment 3 to the left, and I'm also a little nervous, so just bear with me. I'm from the United Teen Equality Center, and as many of you may or may not know, almost all of our teen members are students at the Lowell High School and the newly introduced Alternative Diploma Program, which I am a graduate from. We as a whole understand that the school board has to make a very big decision when being presented with $1.5 million budget cut. However, we feel it is very important to keep the students to teacher ratio well balanced. In other words, if teachers continue to be cut, we suffer higher dropout rates, larger classroom sizes, and less one-on-one attention.
Thank you.
My name is Shauna. I live at 92 Crawford Street, and I am also from United Teen Equality Center. We also face challenges in the student support department because many guidance counselors could be potentially cut, which they are vital to students for the transaction from high school to college, and many staff members from Lowell High School support the alternative diploma program, and without them it would be very difficult to keep this program going, which is very important to the students that attend that school. Also, one of the guidance counselors who play a major role in the alternative diploma program is in danger of losing his job. We also please consider alternative ways in which you budget should be cut.
Thank you.
I also have one more thing to say. I know you said 5 minutes, I'm sorry. I have a 16-year-old sister who's a sophomore at Lowell High, and she has an IEP, and I graduated a year late, but I did it. So I want to make sure that my sister gets the education that she needs, and there's enough teachers to help her so she can do her work and doesn't get discouraged, so that I can see her cross the stage the same way that I did. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Caulfield and school committee members. My name is Carrie Lynch. I live at 101 Schoolhouse Lane in Boxborough. I'm the coordinator for student support services at the high school. Our office is a busy place. This year we enrolled over 400 students, held 450 IEP and 504 meetings, prepared over 500 sets of student records for transferring students, welcomed hundreds to our college fair, hosted many parent outreach meetings, made 1,800 replacement IDs, and provided direct guidance services to 3,300 students. The budget proposals that are before you tonight, if all enacted, would reduce our core office staff from 6.5 people to 3 people. And I believe at least 2 of those positions have already been voted on, the coordinator's position and the staff, clerical staff person tonight, which does concern me. My main purpose in addressing you is to let you know that I am here, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have about our office, the support services that we provide, the state compliance requirements that we meet daily, and the ways in which we reach out to students and their families. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Kathy Downey. I live at 145 Parker Street, and I'm the media specialist at the Sullivan Middle School. I am not here only for myself, but my 13 colleagues that received their layoff notices on Monday. Of the 33 administrators that have been laid off, 14 of them were library media specialists. In this time of deep cuts, to eliminate an entire job classification is unfair. Colleagues with 14 to 30 years of experience and commitment to this district have lost their jobs, while others with less time have not. Data and research will tell you that there is a direct relationship between a well-run library and rising test scores. I was blessed when I came to the Sullivan because I worked for 2 principals who truly understood how critical it is to have a library in their school. I was equally blessed to have a staff that supported my efforts and were willing to collaborate with me on whatever we wanted to work on together. Through that collaboration and using our data, a program was developed to meet the learning and reading needs of every student in our school. Reading was and continues to be our priority. In 7 years, we raised our MCAS scores from 35% proficient to 85% proficient. And we continue to tweak the program to continue that progress. I work daily with students, as do my colleagues, and I have not yet finished my mission. For every student that walks through the doors of the Sullivan, I try to ignite their passion for reading using any means possible, not only to make them better students, to make them a better person. Please allow me to continue my job.
Hello. Patrick Choi, 39 Dover Street, Lowell, Mass. Recent graduate of Lowell High School, class of '09, and former student government president. I'd like to speak on behalf of the two college counselors to the left of me, Ms. Squelia and Mr. Soulard, who've contributed not only to my success, but also the success of every single one of my friends and college-bound friends that I have. Let me start off with Ms. Squelia. First, through the dual enrollment process, I was able to take 3 classes over at the university, where I'll be going next year at UMass Lowell. Ms. Squelia has made all the process so much easier, helping me out so much. She's helped all my friends through Potsy. She helped my friend Boyu get into college for free. Without her, that really wouldn't happen at all. I'm sorry. I'm just saying, I'll just say one thing, that Ms. Squelia and Mrs. Soulard have done so much for me over the past 2 years. And I know the cuts aren't easy, but the cuts so far with my homeroom teacher, my advisor for student council, and everything else, it'd be a horrible loss if you cut these 2 people, because they've done so much for me, getting into college, going to college for free at UMass Lowell, room and board, tuition, for 8 years if I want to, for PhD, and I'd hate it if they'd be cut from the school. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sharon Gallagher, once again from the Friends of Lowell High, and I just want to reiterate things that Principal LeBron mentioned, as well as things I've said in the past. In terms of the articles recommended to you, certainly are not easy recommendations for the staff to make, but I'm confident that Mr. Samaras and Dr. Jack made very thoughtful recommendations in terms of the cuts that they could live with over the next year, and I'm sure that any of the other cuts that the central administration or their staff recommended similarly, they're ones that they're willing to live with over the next year, as uneasy as that will be. So I just encourage you to take their recommendations to heart, and when they say, you know, we really can't go further without severing an artery, that you take that into account and stop where they say stop. Thank you.
Can you understand, again, I keep telling you why I'm so proud to be a headmaster of Lowell High School. When you see a student like Patrick Choi win the Paul Songer Scholarship and the support that he had, that's what it's all about. Before I just begin my words, I'd like to officially thank Carrie Lynch. As you know, Carrie Lynch is going on to be principal of Dartmouth High School. It's a great loss to this high school. She was my conscience. There wasn't an issue about students that she didn't know about. There wasn't an issue that she didn't work very hard to solve. Carrie Lynch, I think we should thank her. Truly our loss, their gain. I'm not going to tell you that about how fine our staff is. You know that. I'm not going to preach to the choir. The issue that I have to bring up at this particular point is, since our last meeting, I've had many calls from the Friends of Lowell High School, parents, and from students coming to me concerned about the budget cuts. They know budget cut has to be made, and everybody hopes it's somebody else, not them. You understand that. But our high school has met literally every demand that this school committee has made. When I say demand, the school committee wanted better attendance. They wanted the dropout rate taken care of. They wanted the freshman academy to work. Freshman academy is working. So those are the things that the parents wanted me to let you know. When I talked about career counseling, we're finally at the point where counselors are well respected, they're sought after by the students, and they're receiving the help that parents want. These are the issues that over the years, we've had to deal with. So when we're digging into the budget, the part where we talk about a guidance counselor for the freshman academy, the guidance, 2 guidance counselor positions, the student service specialist, instructional specialist, guidance counselor position, college counselors. this went deep into the budget. I'm just asking this committee, understanding where you're at. I mean, and I can't preach to the choir. You know you have a great staff. That's why you ran to become school committee people. I think at this point, you might wonder why you ran, because it's not the easiest time. And I don't mean to make light of it, but it's a serious time. So I'm just asking that, again, you consider my request to take this out of the budget and allow this to go on so we can continue. We understand, talking with the superintendent, that we're hoping, but we feel that next year will be as bad. And what we need to do at the high school in order to meet that next round, which we hope doesn't occur, but realistically probably will occur, we need to reassess and reassign and reestablish. When you think of Carrie Lynch's position, there are many of us going to take over that role. We're going to do it, and hopefully we'll do it well. It's not going to be done like Carrie did it, but the thing is, it'll be done well. But we understand how to do certain things, but we just need a little help to continue what we're doing. So if we have to make further cuts, we can do a lot of thinking about it, have an exchange with this committee over the next year to talk about what has to be done. But I need these positions to remain, and I'd hope you consider that. Thank you very much.
Donald Ahern, you're all set, Donald? Any other speakers? Any speakers? Before we move on with the budget, Hallmark cards, rather, couldn't have said a thank you better than Patrick Choi did to his teachers. It was remarkable, it was heartfelt, and we all felt that thank you that he presented here this evening. Moving on with the budget.
To reduce one Lowell High School Athletic Department contractor transportation services and only attend MIA and New England Council sanctioned events for the amount of $30,000.
Move approval, Your Honor.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Fattacani, second by Ms. Doherty. No discussion, no debate. Roll call. $30,000, the transportation, reduced Lowell High School Athletic Department.
We do have
Don't you have?
No, I don't have it.
Right there.
I don't have it. I don't have it. No one gave it to me.
Do we have an extra copy of this for the
I don't have
secretary?
it.
The clerk?
I don't have it. It's not the right one.
Okay, here.
Can somebody give up their coffee to...
Roll call.
Mr. Leahy,
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Miss Martin.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
Miss Doherty.
Yes.
Miss Fattacante.
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Next.
The elimination of the intramurals program of $70,000 that was discussed earlier by School Committee Member Fattacani. I would just like to bring your attention to the alternate proposal. I have been in conversation with UMass Lowell and expressed concern with the person in charge of the boathouse that $25,000 is very steep for us, given our financial situation. And I indicated to him that I would make the recommendation to the committee to offer $15,000 for use of the boathouse, and ask for, we would seek additional grants through his suggestion through a community development block grant, which is, I gather, what they did in Lawrence to offset that $25,000. In conversation with Mr. Samaras, the $70,000 breaks down $35,000 for intramurals at the middle school level. And I just wanted to make a note of that for the committee, as many of the intramurals programs helped feed into our larger programs at the high school. Also in conversation with Mr. Samaras, he was of the opinion that the $15,000 toward the Belgrade Boathouse presence of our crew team with this funds would be a good expenditure of this money, and that in fact the remaining $20,000 could be returned as a savings to the budget, or could go back into the athletics program at the high school itself.
Ms. Fattacani?
Thank you, Your Honor. Is there any contingency that we will owe another $10,000 if we do not get the block grant money?
Thank you. Again, this hasn't been approved by UMass Lowell, so it's my suggestion to the committee that we offer $15,000 and apply for the grant. Again, there's no guarantee that that would be acceptable to UMass Lowell, but that is my recommendation.
Mr. Leahy?
Through you, at the athletic subcommittee, did this come up, and was someone there from UMass Lowell?
No.
Okay. What's the full explanation on why they need this money? Again, it's just upkeep, they're saying?
Yeah, the maintenance of the boathouse. Madam Superintendent?
It's a new facility, the boathouse, and in my conversation with Dana Skinner, I did express to him that given our financial difficulty, although they were requesting $25,000 for our use of the boathouse, that I said that would be difficult. It was his suggestion, after doing some homework on our behalf, to apply for a community development block grant, as I mentioned, that the City of Lawrence, I gather, had done that, and use those funds in a similar manner. Again, this is a suggestion. There's no guarantee, one, that we would receive the grant, but based on my conversation with Mr. Skinner, I think it's something that we should look into, and that is the recommendation going forward at this time.
I just want to say that the boathouse was once owned and controlled by the state. Now UMass Lowell has jurisdiction over it, so they're looking for some compensation for the use of the boathouse. Mr. Leary?
And I understand that, and I'm going to vote for your recommendation, but the problem, I guess, is I really don't understand what the $25,000 represents. I mean, we're storing a certain number of boats in a garage bay. It's not like storing a car. We're also, I imagine the boat docks in the water are part of that fee as well. Is that correct, or is that incorrect?
Well, they have the docks to
Yeah,
maintain,
so that's part of, I mean,
keep
that's
that
all
up.
part of the whole.
I would imagine so, yeah.
I guess the only thing, and I'm going to vote for your recommendation because we got over 100 kids in 2 seasons doing this. It makes sense, but at the end of the day, $25,000 doesn't make a lot of sense either. I mean, what breakout? I mean, there's another. I read this in the paper. There's another boat club renting a bay too. Are they being charged more or less? I mean, it's not a lot of money at the end of the day, but we are dealing with significant cuts for significant people in very, very important positions. This is something I think that they should. I understand there should be a fee because they are maintaining our boats, and they do have to maintain the building, but I just don't quite understand what the $25,000 represents. I did read the letter, but I'm still at a loss. Thank you.
I would imagine the superintendent would be in conference with the chancellor to see if we can negotiate something that's better. Ms. Dougherty?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to make a motion to accept alternative proposal number 4, and one of my main reasons for supporting this is because I don't want to cut the intramural program at the middle schools. I think it's very important, not only as a feeder to the high school, but those middle school kids, if we can get them engaged in sports before they make decisions that take them on the wrong path, it's absolutely the thing to do. And it's short money, $35,000, to keep those programs running. Okay. So my motion is to support alternate proposal number 4.
Motion to support alternative number 4 by Ms. Dougherty, seconded by Mr. Conway. No discussion, no debate. Roll call.
Mr. Leahy?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Dougherty?
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante?
Yes?
7 yeas, approved.
Next on the budget agenda.
Yes. The assistant coaches at the high school, I won't read the list unless the committee, it's the wish of the committee. But
Move
it's to the
approval,
amount
Your Honor.
$77,858.
Move approval by Ms. Fattacante, second by Ms. Dougherty. Any discussion, debate? None. Roll call.
Mr. Leahy?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Dougherty?
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante?
Yes?
7 yeas, approved.
Your Honor, before we go further, through you, Your Honor, to Assistant Superintendent Lang, can I have a total of what we have cut
Sure.
to this point,
Sure.
please?
To date tonight, $627,935. $627,935.
Okay.
Okay. The next reduction, the elimination of one supervisor custodian position for the amount of $63,307.
Move for approval by Ms. Doherty, seconded.
What was
By
the
Ms.
amount
Ma-
again? I'm sorry, I didn't get the amount. 63 what?
63,000.
$63,307. Seconded by Ms. Martin. Roll call.
Did you second it?
Well,
Mr. Leahy?
Through you, Your Honor, to Mr. Lang. Mr. Lang has...
I do just want to speak quickly on this position. It is one of a handful of positions that certainly related directly to my work in the system. By no means was this an easy proposal to put forward. It's certainly going to have an impact on the oversight in our schools and the buildings. And it's just something that when you got to that $7 million plus amount, it was difficult to justify. But by no means was this an easy position to put forward. I would actually recommend, instead of the 63,307, because I would like to, in better times, bring this position back, if we could actually fund it for $1 in the budget, this would be a position that would make sense to have continue the line item. So the reduction would be 63,306. I would request that at the consideration of the committee.
But there is a motion on the floor.
You would withdraw the motion?
As the maker of the motion, I would amend that to be a reduction of $63,306.
Right. Seconded by Ms. Martin. Roll call.
Mr. Leahy?
No.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante?
No.
5 yeas, 2 nays, passes.
Madam Superintendent?
Yeah. The elimination of 2 custodian positions at the high school for the amount of $78,268.
Mayor, just a quick question on that. I guess the question is regarding the resource officers and the law enforcement personnel that we have not only at the high school but throughout, the middle schools. Do we have any indication? I mean, I know 3 of the resource officers are on our budget. There's others that are on other types of budgets. Do we have any indication from the city whether or not we're going to lose law enforcement personnel and whatever variety of roles that they're playing at this point in time?
If we're going to lose law enforcement personnel in the city?
No, not in the city, I'm sorry, within our schools. We have certain folks, we have 3 resource officers at the high school, for example, that are under our budget, but we have other law enforcement professionals providing different roles, not only at the high school, but at middle schools. Before I take a vote on the security guard issue, I want to know exactly where we stand with those law enforcement professionals.
Madam Superintendent?
Unfortunately, we have not been told, or fortunately, we haven't been told. So at this point in time, we have no indication that there's further cuts coming.
2 security guards, right?
Was a motion made to?
I believe the motion is regarding 2 custodian positions at the high
yes.
school.
It was.
I apologize. I was looking at the security guard, not the custodian. I was looking at the security guard. I apologize. I jumped at everybody's like, what are you talking about? I jumped ahead to the security guard issue.
That's what I addressed.
You addressed it, yeah, but I think everybody else is like, what is he?
Oh,
What's he
sorry.
talking
No,
about?
I was following you.
Sorry, thank you. You did
You're
follow me,
welcome.
thanks.
Roll call.
Okay,
On the 2 custodian positions for $78,268.
Mr. Leahy?
This is the 2 at central administration.
No,
Lowell
this
High
is
School.
2 at the Lowell High School
Okay.
for $78,268.
Okay. Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Now we're at the 2 security guard positions.
For the amount of $78,268 at Lowell High.
I mean, I'm going to vote to make that position, cut these, but if we're losing law enforcement professionals, we need to look for a way to reinstate these people because Safety is the utmost of importance, and these guys do a very good job. Not that anybody else doesn't do a very good job, but if we're losing law enforcement in the high school or in the middle school, we got to take a look at this again. So if we could make that dialogue with the chief and see exactly what his plans, if there are any plans, I would appreciate it.
I would say, just on a positive note, looking through the city budget and obviously the city budget deliberations, they haven't reduced any law enforcement or fire department employees at this time. I do think the dialogue needs to remain open because some of the city budget was predicated on 6 months of funding for certain positions. So it's something that we're going to have to stay in contact with them about as we get into the school year.
Exactly. Thank you, Mr. Lang.
Madam Superintendent?
But it does look hopeful, because my understanding is that they have been presently funded at least until halfway through the year because of stimulus dollars that they can apply for, that people are appear very confident that they are going to receive.
Mr. Conway?
How many security guards do we have at the high school right now?
Just give me 1 second. There are 11 total positions in the district. 9 are at the high school, and 2 are at the alternative schools.
And will those 9 at the high, those 2, would they be eliminated at the high school or the, what's, at the high school itself?
High school.
Thank you.
Mr. Leahy?
How many retirements do we have there this year? Do we have any retirements?
We don't have any announced as of yet, no.
In the
we don't?
security?
In the security
Okay.
guards, no.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to approve this, Ms. Doherty? You move to cut 2 security guards at the Lowell High School, seconded by Ms. Martin. Roll call.
Mr. Leahy?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Madam Super, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next,
Ms. Doherty?
Thank you, Ron. I was just going to make a motion that we take the next 8 positions. They are custodial positions at every one of our elementary schools, that if we recall the argument that Mr. Lane gave at our previous budget hearing, this would bring these elementary schools with the same staffing ratio that we currently have at the Riley and the Morey schools, the Riley being our largest elementary school, which seems to be able to manage with 3 custodials. So for the purposes of efficiency, unless my colleagues have a problem,
I'll second the motion.
take all 8 custodial positions at the elementary schools. Eliminate those positions.
Motion to...
Take them all up in their entirety.
And how much will it be?
Seconded by Ms. Fattacante.
Okay.
And
The figure, dollar figure?
the dollar figure is...
$313,072.
Any discussion? Any debate?
Michael Sheehan, president of GLUE. Just want to comment on Ms. Doherty's analogy to the Riley School. The Riley School has presently, there's 3 employees there. You know, it is the square footage out of all the elementary schools. It is the smallest. It's 1 floor. So it doesn't seem appropriate to use that analogy as far as 3 employees are able to clean that school compared to the other schools, other elementary schools. They range anywhere from 65, 75,000, 80,000 square feet. So to ask 3 employees to clean that much, it's feasibly not going to work. Previously, the previous union had initiated a split shift that they had negotiated, and it was about 16 positions. You know, and in my math, you know, over that 6-year period, the school department has saved over $3 million in salaries. You know, so I personally, myself, I don't see how these schools can be cleaned with 3 employees. We just went through a whole series of children getting sick in the schools over at the Pine Arts, and, you know, and I would hate for something like that to happen, but that's my position. I don't think that it's not going to work, you know, but I understand that things are tough, but, so, thank you, appreciate it.
Michael, thank you. Ms. Dougherty?
Yes, through you, Your Honor, I'd like to hear from Mr. Lang about because one of the other things about the Riley School, it's one of our older elementary schools, which does make it a little bit more involved in terms of upkeep and things like that. But I'd like to hear some facts from Mr. Lang regarding the school.
Right. I mean, with regard to the Riley, and then the Maury is the other elementary school that has the 3 custodians. And I think at the first budget hearing when this was brought up, I mean, it's certainly going to be difficult for the individuals to maintain the building. No one is saying that it's not. Again, this is another one of those recommendations that we brought forward, you know, not under the best circumstances. It certainly is going to have an impact. When I don't have the actual square footage in front of me, but, you know, I had been told in the past that the Riley was one of the higher square footage in the system. And I think that would be backed up, and I can state that it has the highest elementary school enrollment in the city. It has the greatest number of staff positions and classrooms by default in the city. So one would, equate the higher population number of kids with the cleaning in that building. Again, absolutely not optimal. And again, something that, as money becomes available in the future, certainly would recommend going back up to the 4. Given the timing and the context of the budget, at this time, that was the recommendation.
Mr. Conway, then Mr. Leary, and Mr. Lang.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask Mr. Lang, is it possible that some type of a compromise could take place here where you take a look at all these custodians? Could we float some of these custodians into perhaps dealing with a couple schools instead? Because, I mean, I think that there's no doubt about it. I mean, we obviously have to have a clean environment. We really do. And I know that these are difficult times, but have you thought about that, the possibility of let's say shifting from to 2 schools instead of cutting all these?
We absolutely have, and I think the timing with the new union coming on board and being certified, we'll be going through a process with them to actually establish a contract. Before my time coming here, I've heard of schools in the past when we used to have the modular classrooms. There were different custodians that would be hired that would actually just go around and in the evenings clean those classrooms. So I think there are a lot of options and possibilities we need to look at going forward, and we're going to need the union's help when we sit down to put a contract together for them. Certainly, we have a number of those ideas, and we're open to any of those discussions. Ways to possibly be able to float people from school to school in absences, and even just to provide an extra, possible crew of people that do rotating basis cleaning in the different schools to do some of the catch-up stuff. Absolutely open to it, and, we'll be working with you folks, actually, over the coming months as we develop that contract.
Mr. Conway? Okay. Mr. Leary?
I'd like, Mr. Conway has a great issue, I guess, really in terms of ideas. I think really the place is the collective bargaining table, and a lot of different creative, without getting myself in trouble, stuff can be discussed. It's probably worse. But basically, a lot of different options can be discussed, and some of those options sometimes can move personnel, change personnel, add personnel, but it's something that has to be done at the bargaining table. Today, our mission is we have to get to $7.8 million, which is not, this is like painful for all of us. And decisions have to be made. And unfortunately, we have to make this decision tonight. We have to make the cut because we have to get to the $7.8 million number. Can we be creative going forward? I think we definitely should be. I think we should keep our options open going forward and make some risks going forward. But right now, I think we have to make the cut. Thank you.
Mr. Lang, how many custodians will be at the elementary level once this vote is taken?
The elementary level would have a staffing level of 3 custodians per building.
3 per building?
Correct.
I've been in the Riley School. I've been in all the schools. They're absolutely impeccable. They're spotless. And my hat's off to the custodians. They do a great job. But this is maddening, these cuts. And it's a catch-22, double-edged sword. No matter what you do, you're wrong. No matter what you do, you're right. And it's not an easy decision. I like the fact that Mr. Conway thought of, if a school, Mr. Lang, if a school was getting a little behind, you could have a crew of janitors go there to bring that school back and get it back up to the level it should be. And that's other ways of addressing it. So.
It's something I'm absolutely interested in, and we'll certainly address at the bargaining table in the very near future.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Leahy?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Madam Superintendent?
Thank you, Your Honor.
I need a motion to go beyond the 10 o'clock deadline.
Your Honor, I'm going to make a motion to go past the 10 o'clock.
Motion to go past 10 p.m. by Ms. Fattacante, seconded by Ms. Martin. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That's the second night in a row I've done this. Go ahead. Madam Superintendent?
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm sorry. Could we ask for another total? Are we getting pretty close? Oh. Well, all right, yeah, with the help. All right, I'm sorry.
So to eliminate 23 health insurance premiums at the central administration for the amount of $259,923.
No.
Sorry.
So, I'm sorry.
Correction.
There's one change there. We've actually eliminated 22 positions. There was a position we did not eliminate. So it's 22 health insurance positions at this point, and the savings is $248,622. $248,622.
On page, what page is that on?
It's the bottom of page,
5?
or top of page 5.
Okay, I see it, okay.
Through Your Honor,
Ms. Fattacante.
Could Mr. Lang explain alternate proposal number 5, please?
Yes, alternate proposal 5 actually isn't intended to be an alternate proposal. It's intended to be another proposal, an additional proposal for consideration. I would work with the superintendent and other central administration staff over the course of the summer to develop a proposal that would start to make some impact into the food service operation of $100,000 in savings over the course of the year, realizing that we're not going to be able to attain total savings to bring that program back to adequately funding itself in 1 year, but to start to make an impact. The one area in your local budget where the food service program is provided at all is the health insurance line. So the recommendation is to actually reduce that health insurance line by the $113,000. It may not be in that particular line. It's absolutely not tied one by one to positions. But as a gesture of an effort to move forward, that would be the line if the school committee was desirous to actually carry a cut related to finding efficiencies within the food service program.
Mr. Leary?
Just to expand on what Mr. Lang is saying, and I think in context of what we had discussions back in April, I think part of the issue came down to is that we have, in my words, low-hanging fruit, if you will, stuff that we've never attempted to do, minimize waste, et cetera, that if we did go after that low-hanging fruit from an administrative standpoint, saving costs, not just the additional employees, you'd actually would end up having a different type of argument. And the argument would be is, we have a surplus. Who gets the surplus? Instead of having the argument about privatization or internal or what that argument is, the argument, jujitsu the argument, if you will, the argument would be is, we made money. Now what do we do with the profits? I think that type of an argument is much better than the one we had back in April. Because there is a possibility, many different school systems run this in the black, and ours hasn't really given a chance yet. Our folks haven't been given the chance yet to really use their opportunities. We have a lot of creative people, a lot of chief, head cooks, in particular in the high school, the individual who spoke here. If they let them run with different areas of savings, we have an opportunity not only to make up the $700,000 plus, deficit, but an opportunity to actually go into the black and then change the whole argument to, we actually made money in this area, what do we do with that money? And I'd rather have that type of an argument than we're in a deficit, what do we do? So I think this is a start to kind of begin the incentive, because we need to get to the bottom line of 7.8 million, but I'm pretty confident once we start moving in this in the beginning of the school year, we're going to have, this won't be an issue for us. This will be, the issue will change to, we're making money here. So it's something I'm going to support now, but it's something that as we go forward for next year's budget, which incidentally is going to be a lot more painful than this budget, if you can imagine that, we're not going to be worrying about the food service department. Thank you.
Mr. Leary, you move for approval? Move for approval. Mr. Leary, second. By Ms. Doherty, any discussion, any debate? Ms. Fatacani?
Here's my concern. I was expecting, because we were told, we would have a proposal in this area. So the school committee has been waiting for months for a proposal regarding the food service program. And it never came to us. I don't know what happened to it. It never arrived on my doorstep. But what I expected to see was a proposal that would help me make a better budget decision. I have about 7 lines here. And I'm not sure of what the impact of all that means to our employees.
If I can speak to that. When we were going through the budget deliberations last spring, there was an issue with within the student data folks that work for the district. And we didn't know at that time, given the budget timing and what was actually going to be the final recommendation for cuts. And this had to also do with Parent Information Center reorganization. So the committee at the time, I believe it was $150,000 or $175,000, voted to just reduce a line item in the budget by that amount of money and directed the superintendent and her staff to come back with a proposal to actually realize those savings. Following the same jest, because quite honestly, as we started this budget process, there just was not sufficient time to be able to develop a real thoughtful proposal and plan for this. That time we will have that time after the budget's done and over the summer. I've had some offline conversations with the new union leadership. They're actually looking into bringing some proposals for efficiency forward as well. I can tell you that this is not just a one-for-one person type reduction, but it's an effort to actually try to just realize $100,000 in savings over the course of the next school year related to the food service operation. I will work and will bring a plan forward before the start of the school year that this committee can vote up or down. I think, again, it's $100,000, it's not $1 million. And if the committee is desirous of not approving the plan, of altering the plan, you'll absolutely have that time and ability over the course of the summer. This is the one area of the budget, if you are going to make a reduction, however, related to the food service program, to have that be shown.
Ms. Doherty, then Mr. Conway.
Thank you, Your Honor. I hear what my colleague is saying. That information, that request came about at the end of April. I believe it was after April 26th. It hasn't been a huge amount of time. I certainly would want a well-thought-out plan, one that makes sense, that keeps in mind the quality of food that we serve our children, as well as looks for efficient ways to provide that service. I think in lieu of the huge amount of cuts we've just made in the last couple of weeks across the board, to not say that the food service program, which currently draws, $775,000 out of our local budget, to not say we are going to come up with efficiencies and a plan that will save $113,000 of that, it's irresponsible of us. We have to look at the whole system, and there's going to be shared pain, and certainly I'm all in favor of the most delicious, healthy lunches we provide our children, but there's got to be a better way of delivering that service. And this puts the onus on the department with the administration to make some inroads in that. And I think $113,000 is not a huge amount to start with, and to look at, maybe we could even go further than that, but it's a starting point to really look at how we can do the job better. I think we have to do it.
Mr. Conway?
Thank you.
I think it's an ambitious figure to get to 113,000, and I certainly would applaud them if they could do that. The question I do have is, what happens if they come short of that $113,000?
If again, working over the course of the next month and a half or so, we'll actually, work with the union to come forward with a proposal in a subcommittee to be shared with this full committee that will outlay, how we would actually come up with $100,000 in savings. I think that's actually an attainable target. It is ambitious, but I think we need to take a step. If I come to you and I say we can only save $80,000, then we would need to find $20,000 somewhere else in the budget to offset that. If we come in and say I can find $120,000 and we all agree on the plan to move forward, then we can reallocate another $20,000 somewhere else in the budget. But I think this actually gives a good direction and indication as to where to go, and it will be something we're working with the food service workers on when we develop that program.
Well, I think in these difficult times, obviously, we have to try to save wherever we possibly can. And and I think it is a good idea, and I think it's a good idea that we're not privatizing and we're keeping our people. So I certainly applaud them if we can come across with that kind of savings. Thank you.
Before we take a roll call on this issue, Jay, can you give us a bottom figure on what this vote is going to bring us?
Yeah, there's actually two things. The first one, we determined that there are 22 FTE of health insurance to be voted to be reduced at this time for the 248,622. Roll call wasn't taken on that. So
248?
622.
Okay.
So we need a roll call on that for the 22. And then after that, we could do a roll call of an additional 113, 010.
1010?
Yes.
Okay, before we take the roll call, the cafeteria workers work tirelessly. They provide very good nutritional food to the students. They make the mashed potatoes, the meatloaf, the gravy, etc. Is that going to continue, Madam Superintendent? Are they going to still receive that nutritional food?
Mayor, we are going to bring forward a proposal. Right now, there are no plans to change the menu, but if, in concert with that union and those workers, that they have other recommendations that they would like to bring forward to the committee that may alter or change the menu, it will be the will of this committee to decide at that time what will happen.
Are you saying that there's a possibility that we could be serving frozen foods, frozen lunches?
No, sir, not if it's not the wish of this committee.
Janet, Mr. Leary?
I'll put this into some context. One, we're going to make money doing this right. That's because a lot of other school districts are in the black. The point I want to also ask, we have 99 teaching positions we removed. Is that correct? No, it's actually higher than that, Madam Superintendent. Is that correct?
The figure of 7.5 million reduction represents 118 positions throughout our district: teachers and administrators, clerks, custodians, all staff.
Okay, and we'll just take this teachers for a moment. That's at least 99 positions or more, and that's real people who will be losing their jobs. We have to look at the food service. Next year, when this budget comes in, this is going to look, unfortunately, like really easy compared to what next year is going to be. Because next year is going to be a lot worse because we've made major cuts everywhere. So we have to run the food service in the black. And if we can't run it in the black, then we are in really, really big trouble next year. Thank you.
I agree with you, Mr. Leary, that we should run it more efficiently, but I've been here a year and a half, and I have yet to meet the food director, Mr. Degman. So where was he during all this discussion? Okay. Roll call. Any comments?
Nope, I just wanted to, are we moving first on the 22 health insurance premiums? Have we had a motion on that?
248,
I'd make a motion to accept that
248,620,
recommendation of the
I have already have a
superintendent.
motion by Mr. Leary, seconded by Ms. Doherty. I just need a roll call vote on it, okay? Mr. Leahy,
Yes.
Mr. Leary,
Yes. Yes.
Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante.
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
The other motion is $113,110?
No, $113,000.
Oh, 113,000, I'm sorry.
$113,10.
I'd make a motion to accept the alternative proposal number 5.
Seconded by Ms.
Second.
Doherty. Roll call.
Mr. Leahy,
Yes.
Mr. Leary,
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante.
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Madam Superintendent?
Okay, after all of those reductions, the reductions for tonight stand at $1,522,481.
We there, Madam Superintendent? Yes, Mr. Conway.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to ask for reconsideration on the attendance office position, and I'd like to change my vote to yes.
You asking for reconsideration.
So it has to be put on the agenda for, on the next meeting.
I will second Mr. Conway's motion for reconsideration, sir.
You want to do this at the next meeting?
You can do it tonight, Mr. Conway, if you so choose.
I'd like to do it tonight.
Okay. Ms. Doherty?
Your Honor, does that mean we can all change our votes and ask for reconsideration for a number of these items?
Robert's Rules of Order indicate that he is entitled to do that.
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Roll call on the reconsideration. What's that? I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I'm not using my microphone. We're voting right now to allow Mr. Conway to reconsider his vote.
Yeah, a no vote would eliminate the reconsideration vote, the yes vote.
But he doesn't need a vote. He has that right.
No, you have to take a roll call.
No, he has that right for reconsideration. It has to be brought up at the next meeting. That's his right. If he changes it to the affirmative, he can bring it in for reconsideration at the next
But we
meeting.
have to take a roll call on the reconsideration.
Sir, we don't. Not
Roll
since
call.
I've been doing.
Roll call.
Mr. Leahy,
Yes.
Mr. Leary,
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield. Mr. Conway.
Yes.
Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante.
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 nay, passes.
It's back on the table, Mr. Conway. Just
Thank
like
you.
we didn't even start. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, I appreciate that. I just think when I take a look at this and I see the effort that has been put into the attendance office and especially in the position of the individual that runs it, I see that the attendance officer is constantly calling parents, constantly meeting with parents in the housemaster's office, constantly meeting with students and teachers as far as the attendance is concerned. And it's one of those jobs that just does not end, Mr. Mayor. And I think that we really need to take a good look at this, a serious look at it, because as I said before, we have made incredible strides in attendance. And it's not just done by 1 or 2 different groups of people. And we had at least 5 or 6 people back a few years ago in the attendance office, and it was something that we talked about many, many times. The school committees talked about it, actually expanding the attendance office, because it was something that was successful and we needed to continue with it. And as far as I can see right now, I think that I would certainly hope that my colleagues would reconsider this particular position. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Leary?
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. And I noticed we saved $75,000. Excuse me? I'm sorry. We saved, right now we're over 1.5 million. Is that correct or is that incorrect?
You're over by 17,000
Okay. So the target number to be reached, the 7.8, has been achieved.
at this time.
We'd saved $75,000 because of union concessions and the principals actually donating the 1%. Is that an accurate statement? That's my math, anyway.
Yes, you saved $30,000 from the clerical concession.
Yep.
And you saved $21,009 from the principal concession. Let me add those up for you.
And 14. two assistant superintendents.
So your total concessions at this point are 52,396.36 that weren't already in the budget.
Okay.
Because the superintendent and the assistant superintendents were not included in the budget development. So you've got 52,000 there.
Plus, what was the remaining value over, we needed to hit 1.5 million, is that correct?
17,600.
Right. So if you put the 17,638 into it, your total at this point is 70,034.36.
Okay. What I'd like to do, it's a challenge to do it, I realize that last Wednesday I voted to eliminate a guidance counselor position in the freshman academy. And what I'd like to do now is make a motion to reinstate that position using the $70,000 savings and the difference from the health insurance premium to make up that position for a total value of $72,046, if I can read my handwriting written over it.
Mr. Leary, we're on Mr. Conway's.
Oh, I thought that was already done. I apologize. I thought that was already resolved.
No.
We voted on it. I thought we voted on it. He spoke on it. We'd have to wait.
He
must have voted on it again.
changed his vote
Okay.
to the affirmative and he reconsidered.
I thought we were doing it next meeting. That's why I brought it up at this point. For the love of God.
Do I have the floor? Thank you, Your Honor. I would just like to comment on my colleague's motion. He wants to vote again on the vote that we had a little while ago to eliminate the attendance officer position. And as we hear from my colleague on the left, if we're going to be putting positions back, you know, there might be some other priority choices here.
Well,
that
I'll get to Mr. Leary's motion in a while. Go ahead.
Okay, so I think that the decision was already made. I guess we can go through it again, but if we're looking at putting something back, I think that involves a discussion aside from just this motion. Because I would also support reinstating a guidance counselor.
Mr. Conway's motion is in order. Mr. Leary can't go back. He had to do that within 24 hours of the vote.
Point of order, I wasn't asking for reconsideration. I was making a motion to put that position back in the budget, which I can do if I get a second. But what I did is I didn't realize Mr. Conway's motion was still on the floor. I thought that had been resolved, and I had thought we were going to vote on that at the next meeting. I was mistaken. Thank you.
What's before us tonight is to restore the truant officer at Lowell High School. Ms. Doherty?
I just want to make sure. So we're now voting to restore the attendance officer position?
Yes.
That's the motion.
Right.
Thank you.
Mr. Leahy?
Thank you. Can I just clarify, because I just want to make sure. I thought that the vote was to, these are like, these two explanations are together. So for this vote, I thought what we're doing is voting on the alternative proposal.
Alternative proposal number 3.
To that, right, to that position. So is that to
But
be?
what happened at the last vote, the truant officer's position was eliminated. Ms.
Right,
Martin?
but then we went around for the alternative.
No, we took the alternative vote first, and then we...
We did?
Yes. Ms. Martin?
I was just going to try and clarify, just in terms of, you know, we took up both of these as two separate options.
Right.
So the first vote was taken with alternative proposal number 3. It was defeated.
Right.
So that we wanted to keep that program in place. Second motion was made to eliminate that attendance officer position, and that passed. So we acted on each one of them independently.
So Mr. Conway's motion is to restore the truant officer position. Any other discussion? Moved by Mr. Conway. Who seconded that? By Ms. Fattacani. Roll call.
Yes.
Mr. Leahy?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
No.
Ms. Martin?
No.
Mayor Caulfield?
No.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
No.
Ms. Fattacante?
Yes.
3 yeas, 4 nays, it's defeated.
Yes, Mr. Leary.
Thank you. Sorry, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion now to put the $75,000 in the suspense account at this point in time.
Second.
Second by Ms. Fattacani. Any discussion on the motion?
Put 75.
$75,000 in the suspense account.
$75,000.
Any questions, any debate on that motion? Roll call.
Mr. Leahy,
Yes.
Mr. Larry,
Yes.
Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield,
Yes.
Mr. Conway,
Yes.
Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante.
Yes?
7 yeas, approved.
Jay, what is the total reduction that we
If-
have?
If I can walk you through a few numbers for a second.
Okay.
Taking into consideration all the actions that have been taken over the 3 budget sessions, the actual budget for the school department, the bottom line budget, would be $139,314,861. To arrive at that, it would be the city manager's recommended, city council adopted budget of $132,950,089, plus applying the $6,364,772 in stimulus money, brings you to that $139,314,861. After going through all of the actions, the remaining funds aren't quite $75,000. It's $70,034.36, and that would be the amount that would be placed in the suspense account for the school committee to further act. So those are your 3 critical numbers.
And what's the total amount we have reduced on the 3 different budget sessions? We're close to 7.8, I just...
Yeah, it's 7.8 something. Do you want me to get you the exact number?
Yeah.
All right, hang on a second. All right, your actual reductions are $7,546,704, and then you have a budget adjustment of $268,679. That was the change in circuit breaker from 30% to 40% reimbursement. So the total overall budget change is $7,815,383, and it's made up of the cuts and then the circuit breaker adjustment.
Any of this, Ms. Martin?
You know, I think just as we're kind of finally seeing the light at the end of this process, not to belabor the point, but I do want us to, I was hoping I could take just one quick moment. I do want to thank the administration for the work that they've done through this process. It has been incredibly challenging, and I know that all of us on the committee appreciate all the work that's gone into this. I know that for all the staff throughout our district, we recognize the challenges we're putting in front of you. For those of you who've taken the time to come down to suffer through this process with us, we appreciate that. For people who've written and called and been so passionate in defending what they know is truly priceless about our district. I hope you all know that your arguments have been heard. We may not have been able to respond to all of them in ways we've wanted to, but we've certainly heard about some of the extraordinary things and extraordinary people who are working in our district. I guess one of the most damning things in going through this process has been, you know, certainly recognizing what a different district will be dealing with next year, but I think also seeing all the goodwill and the morale and the commitment and the passion that people have for the work they do here, for the families who are part of this district, for the greater Lowell community, to see all that, to see such a kind of negativity that I think has colored and has had to color this whole process. For myself, you know, I appreciate my colleagues and the work that you've all done. I know that we have argued a great deal to try and come to consensus. I don't put forth this budget in any way saying that this is the solution that any of us wanted, but I am hopeful and confident that with the help of the administration, with the help of our staff, with the help of our families, we will be able to hold our ground in FY10 and ensure that the work that's going on in our district continues to move forward, and that, it's my firmest, most fervent hope that we will still be able to see some success in our district. That will only happen with all of us coming all together. So I just want to offer my thanks to everyone who's here, everyone who's watching, everyone who's been a part of this process, and particularly to my colleagues, because we've made it through this almost still speaking to each other throughout. So that's been pretty good. Thank you.
Madam Superintendent.
I would like to say that I appreciate your comments, Ms. Martin, and it has been and continues to be a very challenging and difficult time for all of our staff, and I too commend the effort that our staff have put together to put together this very challenging budget, and also to extend our deepest regret to our employees that have been let go through this process. There's no easy cuts here, and as we have said many times now, the forecast is not too bright for the next 2 years. With that said, I also want to bring to the attention of the committee that the 7.8 number at this point in time, given the still the financial climate of the state, is our best case scenario. So that in fact we may be here over the next few months if any of these numbers change. It's still fluid. The original proposal in front of you was for 7.5 million. As in reductions tonight, we went to 7.8. That was reduced solely because our stimulus number from the governor went from 2.6 to 4.2. So if, to the extent that that changes or alters, I just want us all to know that we may be back here looking at 9C cuts or something to that effect. But again, our deepest regret for the impact that this budget has had on our staff, and to follow up on School Committee Martin's comments with regards to the staff who will now have more work to do, and I know will try and meet all the needs of our students and our families. Thank you.
Anyone else like to offer comment? In closing, this city of Lowell that we call home is extremely rich in ethnic diversity, compassion, pride. An hour and a half ago, a senior from Lowell High School stepped to that podium, and I think he said it in just a few words. His heartfelt thanks to the teachers who are enabling him to go to UMass Lowell with a scholarship. And we all attended Lowell High School graduation. There were 28 students holding 28 different flags of the countries they represent. There's not another city like it in the country, not another. We will get through this. We will pull up our bootstraps, roll up the sleeves, and you can assure you that the administration, the school committee, the mayor will work tirelessly to make sure every child in this city receives the education they expect, and make sure that child is safe going to and from school. With that said, I want to thank everyone for attending these budget sessions. It has not been easy on this committee, this administration, or this mayor. And communities throughout the state are going through the same ordeal. And not to name the communities, there are some communities in our state that are facing horrific financial dilemmas. So with that said, I thank you for being here, and we will get through this fiscal dilemma. Any other questions?
Do we have to vote on the final number tonight? To accept the final number?
I believe we have to vote on the final number to submit that to the council, yes. So if Mr. Lang gives us a final number, please.
As you know, this has been a year of differences as far as how we're actually funding this budget. I think if the committee could take 2 votes for me. I do not know, because the state could change the way they actually want to allocate and account for the stimulus money. I think the school committee, to show the actions that you're actually taking, should vote almost 2 bottom lines. Your actual school department budget is going to be $139,314,861. That, again, I'm going to have to work with the city CFO and the city auditor to figure out all the journal entries and how this is going to happen once we actually get more definitive word from the state. That is technically going to be your operating budget. It is just going to have, this year is different, it's going to have 4 different funding sources. You're going to have the city allocation of the $132,950,089, as well as the 3 different stimulus numbers. And those are going to add up to that $139,314,861. So I would recommend you actually vote to adopt that as your actual operating budget for fiscal year 10. And then we could take a separate vote to just vote the city manager's recommended amount from the local City of Lowell allocation, just to show that we do acknowledge that the city manager's recommendation and the city council's action last night, and that would be the local contribution.
Jay, let me ask you this question. Could we hold off on that bond figure till the next school committee meeting, then adopt that in case something might change for the positive?
At this point in time, our next scheduled school committee meeting is not till July.
Okay.
I think it is important for the school committee to show the $139,314,861 as the operating budget with the 4 different funding streams. That'll be the easiest to portray to the schools, the public. I would recommend that at this time.
I understand. Motion to approve the $139,314,861. So moved by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. Leary. Roll call.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante.
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Mr. Lang?
All right, next would be a vote to acknowledge that total local operating budget is made up of 4 funding sources. The first is $132,950,089, and that's in the City of Lowell allocation. The second funding source is the state fiscal stabilization funds at $4,252,563. School age IDEA funds at $1,221,411. And lastly, Title I funds at $890,798. I think it's important to go on record to show that as the 4 funding sources, make that in the form of a motion.
I'll make a recommendation to accept I'd make a motion to accept Mr. Lang's recommendation.
Seconded by Mr. Leary. Roll call.
Title I, is that 180,798?
No, 890.
890, okay.
798.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante.
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Ms. Fattacante, seconded by Ms. Martin. Thank you very much.
Fattacante. Ms. Martin.
We're all going to drop the